mean, you talk about a year that did not end well for Mr. Albies. He's been so important to the Braves lineup so far and so consistent.
There goes Acuna. Realmuto's throw not in time, and Ronald Acuna Jr. goes one step closer to a 40. Acuna again, and he's stolen another. So he reaches on an air, and there he is in the blink of an eye at third with a pair of stolen bases.
Well, when you're a team that is the aggressor, meaning you're the team like the Philadelphia Phillies who need these wins, the Braves have been aggressive. And in each of these series that they've played these teams, they've won the first game. Like against the Nationals at home, they took 3 of the first 4. Here they're looking to do the same thing.
So runner at third, nobody out. As that slap foul and his helmet pops off. 3-2.
These are the kind of RBIs that you don't have to get a hit. These are the ones where the defense is already telling you minus hitting it to first base or a rocket to third. Phillies are going to give up a run.
On a 3-2, he hits one in the air to deep left center field. Back goes Hazley. It's gone. The Braves waste no time. A 2-run shot from Ozzie Albies, and it's 2-0 here in the first.
I just talked about how deadly he has been against left-handed pitching.
Albies, and it's 2-0.
On the year, he's hitting 384 coming into yesterday's game, and this high fastball he just tomahawks. Knowing A, he gets it in the air, it's going to be a run. B, the bonus is it went over the fence.
And now a strike on Freddie Freeman.
Turn 30
today. What a season he's having. Somehow managing to fly under the radar with the year.
If that's possible, right?
At least compared to how it should be. I mean, this guy should be a part of every MVP discussion at this point. An 0-2 from Smiley. He chases. And quickly, he's retired on strikes. Leads baseball in RBIs. Got 117 this year, 38 home runs, and is going to go down as one of the franchise's all-time greats.
No doubt. Just every year you can pencil in certain numbers. That wrist injury got pretty scary for him for a while, but he bounced back from it. And here's a guy who's bounced back from really the bottom to the top. I mean, you're talking about a total transformation of the future for what looks like his future could be on a one-year deal, and he's had great success against Drew Smiley.
That's corked foul. Josh Donaldson, 1 year, $23 million contract after he missed much of the previous 2 seasons. But you go back to the 5 years before that, his first 5 full major league seasons, he was right up there with Mike Trout in pick your category offensively.
Yeah.
A 1-1 from Smiley. He fouls it 1-2.
Well, he has a unique approach that you could not kind of replicate, really. His style of hitting is unique, but important to him. Philosophically, it may not make sense to a lot of people. The way that he loads and hits a baseball and tries to get the ball up in the air obviously is paying off this year. He can smash a golf ball too,
and thinks of his golf swing similar to what he thinks of his baseball swing.
Exactly, on a different plane. I've always thought, you get a lot of people and a lot of hitters argue that that plane of a golf swing could mess up their actual swing at the plate. Maybe it can, but it is a lot of similarities in hitting a golf ball versus hitting a baseball.
The 3-2 pitch beats the shift with a base hit to right center.
That makes sense to a lot of people. The way that he loads and hits a baseball and tries to get the ball up in the air obviously is paying off this year.
Hit.
He can smash a golf ball too.
And thinks of his golf swing similar to what he thinks of his baseball
exactly.
swing.
On a different plane. I've always thought, you get a lot of people and a lot of hitters argue that that plane of a golf swing could mess up their actual swing at the plate. Maybe it can, but it is a lot of similarities in hitting a golf ball versus hitting a baseball.
The 3-2 pitch beats the shift with a base hit to right center. So Josh Donaldson stays hot with a 1-out hit. Our player profile sponsored by Bass Pro Shops. Done a lot of damage in his own division. Oddly, the only team not pictured on there is the Marlins, for whatever reason.
Well, coming into this season, right? I thought the 4-team race was going to be legit all the way down to the end. Probably 3 competing all the way to the end, and unfortunately for the rest of the league, the Braves have taken care of their division. They've taken care of the Marlins. They've taken care of everybody you got to beat to get this lead. And it wasn't always like this. You mentioned what the Phillies were in the 2-game lead, and then all of a sudden this resurgence by the Atlanta Braves. Only the New York Yankees have had a better stretch. What was the date we talked about? Since
Atlanta started the season 18-20. You go to May 9th. 73-36 since.
Wow.
Coming into the day that was tied with New York for the best record in baseball in that span. On a 1-1 pitch, Adam Duvall chases a breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Not the Astros, not the Dodgers, not the Nationals, who have been very hot for what seems like forever. It's been the Atlanta Braves. 73-36 span. A lot of it corresponded with that man moving back into the leadoff spot. A 1-2 pitch is high, ball 2. Donaldson at first, one gone. Smiley to Duvall with a 2-2. That is crushed foul.
A lot of sneaky signings by the Braves this year, whether it's Duvall wasn't this year, but Matt Joyce. They went and made some trades when they needed relief help. Everyone needs relief help at the same time, but they were able to pull off 3 veteran guys. Started off rocky. Everyone concerned that will they right the ship? They have, and those 3 guys have been vital for their success. Picked up Hamilton, a weapon off the bench whenever Snicker wants to utilize a pinch runner or a potential fill-in every once in a while to play the outfield. So I give their organization a lot of credit when it's stockpiled with young prospects, highly touted prospects. It seems like this is more than ever an era where teams want to hold on to those prospects and not make those kind of decisive game-changing trades, and Braves were willing to do it.
Here's a 3-2. Duvall swings and misses. 2 out. Covering the bases, sponsored by State Farm. Like we were talking about, they were 4 games behind the Phillies on May 10th with an 18-20 record at that point. 73-36 since then. The Yankees won the first leg of a doubleheader earlier today against the Detroit Tigers. Coming into the day, they were tied for the best record since then. Here's Austin Riley, who early on was one of the lone bright spots for the Braves when they're hovering around 500. He broke in a huge way coming up in the month of May.
I don't know of anybody in it, but including the minors to the majors, who had that stretch of homers and just seemed locked in, and then the pitchers adjusted to him, especially the right-handers, pitching him away, and he started chasing away and having to adapt. So like any young great player who comes up and kind of shocks the system, pitchers, all of them are looking for that one or two guys to open a door of success and then try to repeat it and follow it. And they started going really down and away with success, righty on righty.
Coming inside with this 1-1, ball 2. He had home run in his debut, and then he had 9 home runs in his first 18 games before that blueprint was laid out for the league.
And he was crushing it in the minors before he got called up. So definitely calling him up at the right time. Hot.
Hit a 500-foot home run in AAA before he got called up. I mean, it was like a homer every game in AAA.
Yeah, it was impressive. And a lot of people have been waiting to see what he can do on a full-time basis.
Latest issue is the knee injury that forced him to miss most of August. On a 2-2 from Smiley. He swings through a fastball. Smiley winds up getting 3 Ks in the inning, but the damage is done before he gets his first. Acuna reaches on an air to start it, and Ozzie Albies climbs in, and on a 2-strike pitch, cranks his 22nd home run of the season.
For farmers here, this is our life's work. But when a recall happens, perfectly good food goes to waste. Now we've got a way around that.
Looks good. I mean, we're on target.
Blockchain on the IBM cloud helps pinpoint a problem anywhere, from farm to shelf. It's used by some of the biggest retailers everywhere.
A nice wedge.
So more food ends up on your table.
Is that Daddy's lettuce?
And less food goes to waste.
I gotta get out of here. Which way?
Don't want to hear that. Test. It's not working.
Behind tonight, here's the lineup that'll try to come back with Cesar Hernandez to lead it off, then Real Muto and Harper. Part of the lineup, Hoskins, Segura, and Kingery. Hazley and Franco making starts in the bottom third of the order in front of Drew Smiley. Julio Teheran starts for the Braves, and Johnny's having his best season since he was an All-Star in 16.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Obviously, he's learned how to mix in a 2-seamer and 4-seamer and doesn't have to pitch with max velocity. He's really been unreal for the Braves when you think about the era of home runs. He hasn't given up many, and he just finds a way to knows how to pitch. Tried to go to spring training to throw harder and realized he could throw more strikes. And by throwing more strikes, I know the era of the sinker, everyone talks about the sinker's dead. Sinker's making a comeback, in my opinion, with the way the guy's style of hitting has been displayed over the last couple of years in baseball.
And he's one of the guys at the forefront of that. The league hitting 179 against Teheran's sinker.
He's learned how to cut it. He can change speeds. He can throw his breaking ball. But more importantly, he's learned how to throw strikes. And you know, last year probably didn't end the way he wanted. Wasn't really in factor in the postseason and rotation. And maybe that little chip on his shoulder coming to spring training, and just the fact that he has been counted on. Time will tell to see where he fits when the postseason runs.
Debuted when he was 20. Ninth major league season now for the native of Colombia. Fires an 0-2 and misses down and in, ball 1. I mean, he was a top prospect who was throwing mid-90s. It's a completely different guy now. Fastball average is about 89, but it's been one of the most valuable fastballs in baseball. You've got Garrett Cole, you've got Jack Flaherty, and then next on that list, Julio Teheran, in terms of the value they get from the heater.
Well, I'm not putting everybody in the same bucket because I don't like doing that. But guys are getting used to velocity so much today that actually guys who can change speeds and hit location quadrants are going to drive these hitters crazy because it's different. Everyone's looking for 95, 97, 98, and I get it. But the guys who can sink it, move it, cut it, and change it are having success.
1-2. And a high drive to right field. Cesar Hernandez with a leadoff home run. You set it off at the top. If the Phillies are going to have a chance to make a run at a wild card, they're going to have to bang their way there.
They are, and this is a team that started out in the season and it looked like they were going to score 7 every time. Now I get it, McCutcheon's no longer at the top of the lineup. They got to find somebody to get it going. I like this player a lot. And then set the table and create pressure on the pitching staffs that they're facing with the Bryce Harpers and the Rhys Hoskins. This one he caught too much of the middle part of the plate. And Hernandez in that smooth, not wasted motion gets the lead cut in half.
Second one of this series for Hernandez. 11th of the season. And a 2-1 game as JT Realmuto stands in and watches it bounce.
See, the problem in our kind of react quickly society is when these type of pitchers have bad games, they usually stick out more because they look like it's more doable to have that game than to dominate, because the stuff doesn't speak on the analytics, the spin rate and all that. But I still maintain you're going to see a lot more changes in the game philosophically. You see more contact in lineups. I think eventually it's going to value the strikeout a little differently, and I think you're going to have to start depending on starting pitchers to give get a little bit more of a pitching mindset rather than rev it back and let it go. And it looks good for a while, and it definitely plays when the stuff is all right there.
Realmuto, the lone all-star for the Phillies this season, and he's gotten better and better since then. This has been their best offensive player here in the second half, and best overall player, one of the best overall players when you incorporate what he does as a catcher in the National League.
And a lot of people, including myself, thought when that signing happened, that was such a complete signing for a team that went out and got the superstar and made some necessary changes to their franchise.
Grounded a third for Donaldson, and Realmuto.
That's the wrong guy to hit it to right now. There's some great third basemen in our game. I mean, great. Nolan Arenado, but this guy right here has been so good defensively that, talking to Brian Snitker, he said, look, he single-handedly has won us games defensively on the field.
And a 2-1 game in the first. Here's Bryce Harper.
Bryce has some serious numbers against Julio. 8 homers in his career against the right-hander.
He is the best active hitter against Tehran. Takes ball 1. 419 with 8 home runs. Of course, most of that coming when he was in Washington.
Now, he does have a perfect swing for the sinker that doesn't sink. I mean, the high velocity can beat him up a little bit, but he's made some necessary adjustments, and numbers are back to Bryce Harper type numbers. But there is definitely, he broke into this league with a unique kind of, like, I won't call it a fallback swing, but when he hits him, he hits him. And now he's starting to get more Bryce-like. He's changed his hands a couple times, maybe even a little bit of the stance. Looking more comfortable.
Thought it was interesting listening to the guys during the pregame show talk about Bryce. If it's possible, Bryce Harper's season has flown under the radar. With all the hoopla coming into the year with a big contract that he signed, I mean, you haven't heard a ton about him, but you look at the numbers overall, really good, especially when you incorporate the defense that he's played this year. On a 2-1 pitch, he swings through it 2-2.
And see, that's the area. With velocity above his hands, you can kind of get to that point. Anything down, he's going to crush. But to their point, they're absolutely right. The expectations for Bryce Harper is through the roof. He's a superstar in our game, and a lot of people are starting to question whether or not the consistency of his game can live up to that superstar status. But when you talk about name recognition, doing everything and taking all the pressure off the rest of your teammates, he does it.
Here on a 2-2, he lifts one to left. On comes Duvall. 2 out. Let's check in with Ken Rosenthal.
Guys, it's interesting about Harper and talking about him flying under the radar. I spoke with Phillies hitting coach Charlie Manuel before the game, one of the great hitting minds of this generation. And his view of Bryce is that he has a lot of upside. He thinks Harper is still going to get better.
And it's hard to believe that we're talking about a guy who's been in the league as long as he is. He's super young still. I mean, I call him a baseball prodigy, like meant to do this. And I think with all the marketing and all the things and bursting on the scene and having that MVP season, you started labeling and expecting this guy to do it every single year.
That is a towering fly ball off of the bat of Rhys Hoskins, but it'll hang in for Ronald Acuna and end the inning. Both teams going deep in the first. Cesar Hernandez with a leadoff shot after one in Philadelphia. The Braves 2, the Phillies 1. Sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today. Second inning back in Philadelphia. 2-run home run for Ozzie Albies and a solo shot for Cesar Hernandez. Brian McCann leads off, takes inside, ball one. Brian McCann, who was sent up to the majors by Brian Snitker, his minor league manager that told him, and then was welcomed with open arms by you, John Smoltz.
Yeah, he was. It's kind of like full circle. He went over to Houston, big part of their championship run, had some knee issues at the end of that year, came back to Atlanta, signed here, and back home trying to do the things and pass on the knowledge that he gained while the first time with the Atlanta Braves, and been a great addition for the Atlanta Braves.
Here on a 2-1 from Drew Smiley, he swings and slices a fly to left for Adam Hazley. One gone in the second.
Can I just tell you how eerie that picture is? Can I tell you why? Because I'm in the big leagues now, and I go to throw my first game against with this young kid, and they show me this picture, and I'm going, I can't look at him the same ever again.
Hey, I like your hat, by the way, there.
Yeah, look, who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. Anyways.
And so I end up throwing, 7 consecutive games to start his rookie campaign. We win all 7 and get a chance to kind of break him in a little bit, which I was broken in by veteran catchers.
Right.
And what a pleasure. I mean, it was a joy, and he has been able to go on and catch some incredible guys. And now he's come back. Don't know how many more years he wants to play, but lo and behold. Was that the hat? Did you guys find the hat?
It's the one.
Wow.
Yes, Swanson takes up and away. 2 balls, no strikes. I don't want you to mess up your hair, but I think you should try it on.
I definitely will. I definitely will. It's going to be hard with the headset I got on.
We do a side-by-side.
But I can tell you this. It energized me when I was older, right? When I was older. Look.
And I can be Brian. Little guy. Little young guy next to him.
Amazing. Some things have changed. The hat hasn't, but my hair has.
Swanson gets this one off the end of the bat. Hazley will make the catch. 2 out. There are a couple ties to your generation of Braves baseball, right? I mean, it's been a while, but you've got Brian McCann and Freddie Freeman was part of the latter stages of Bobby Cox, and you and Chipper were there and so on. Yeah,
the only tie I have with Freddie is I got to rehab while he was in Double-A. And Freddie has become such a mainstay in the Atlanta Braves organization. Of course, Freddie and Jason Hayward came up virtually at the same time. Now, Jeff Francoeur, who does Braves television, I got a chance to see his debut and see him and Brian McCann, local guys from the Atlanta area, break in and kind of energize the city and, of course, energize our team, because these are 2 guys that grew up, Braves fans and getting a chance to play for the big league club, which is pretty cool.
Well, Smiley carves right through him there in the second on 11 pitches. This is sponsored by USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community. On a couple of home runs, the Braves have a 2-1 lead over the Phillies, who sit 2.5 back of the second wild card spot, with the Cubs and the Brewers and the Mets today winning. The Brewers, of course, without Christian Yelich moving forward. Cubs today got 14 Ks over 6 shutout innings from Yu Darvish against San Diego.
He's been much better, and the Cubs are looking to try to find anybody in their rotation to get hot. They, like a lot of other clubs, have gotten some injuries, and they're going to have a chance to control their own destiny, actually, because they have those 7 games left with the Cardinals, 4 coming up next week. But what the Mets did to the Diamondbacks, leapfrogging them and putting them in prime position, you got to pass teams. Sometimes you look at the games out, but you forget how many teams are in front of you. Big difference.
Gene Segura to start the second for the Phillies, and he pops the first pitch up from Julio Teheran. Short right center field, Ozzie Albies, 1 pitch, 1 out. We go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Joe, Brian Snicker telling us before the game that Julio Teheran was on a mission from the first day of spring training, and this might be the reason why. If you remember last year's division series, Teheran did not get a start against the Dodgers. Braves feared he might struggle against all of the Dodgers' left-handed hitters. He would have started game 2 if the first-round opponent had been the Rockies. Well, now it looks like the Braves will face another predominantly right-handed team like the Rockies, the St. Louis Cardinals. In the past 3 seasons, Teheran's been very good against the Cardinals, 2.14 ERA, so he could figure into the postseason rotation this time around.
Scott Kingery here with the bases empty and 1 out.
You know, Scott Kingery did something that it went from one of the greatest plays that could have been made to an inside the park home run. And I would argue there's not a lot of players in the game. Acuna almost robs that home run the other night that would have scored on an inside park home run, because this man's DNA is right out of the box. He's just taking no assumptions, and he's played his way into pretty much an everyday spot for the Philadelphia Phillies.
2-1 game, second inning. 2-0 pitch, tails back but misses, ball 3. And it's been kind of a sigh of relief, I think, for Phillies fans, because they gave Scott Kingery a big contract before he even debuted in the majors. 6 years, $24 million before he made his big league debut. And then he was the worst hitter in the National League as a rookie. So the bounce back season that he's had, they trusted that it was coming, but certainly a sight for sore eyes. 3-1.
When Teheran is good, he's pitching ahead in the count. There's a difference of about 140 to 150 points average when he's ahead versus behind.
Behind here, 3-1. Kingery corks a line drive, base hit to left. So here's that play you were talking about from Tuesday night. 3rd inning, 2 out. Game was tied at 4. And Kingery drills this ball to center field. It looks like Acuna's got it, but as he brings his arm back down, the ball comes out. And if you're breaking stride much more than that, you have no chance.
He did a nice job. Maybe a great throw gets him. A little bit of confusion by both people. And I'll tell you what, that was one of the strangest plays of a highlight reel catch to a inside the park home run, and ultimately Phillies went and win that game.
Ball 1 on the rookie Adam Hazley, their lone win in this series. Braves won Monday night 7-2, on last night 3-1. Phillies on Tuesday a 6-5 win. And you know what they did in that 6-5 win? They hit 5 home runs, and that's going to have to be the equation.
It is, unfortunately, for the Phillies and where they are with all their injuries in their bullpen. I mean, they literally, I'm telling you, what they did in the offseason was the equivalent in my mind of what the New York Yankees had done and how it played out for the New York Yankees. Unfortunately, the depth and the ability to overcome injuries did not work for the Philadelphia Phillies like it has for the New York Yankees. And I say anytime you have a special year, you've got to have guys play above their expectation. Great players still have to be great, but the young players have to play older than they are, and you got to get unexpected play, which is all of that criteria that the Yankees were able to get, right, to have this special year so far. Well, unfortunately for the Phillies, it has not been that way, and it's been more of a struggle than the high expectations they had to be kind of like one of the front runners to win this division.
You know, the bullpen decimated by injuries. Even currently, there are 8 guys on the injured list out of the bullpen. Rotation is a spot where they had those high expectations for growth, and they just haven't got.
Correct, but I like everything they did. I mean, sometimes, you know, the intent and the effort and the execution aren't all one of the same. Vasquez has got to go to the next level. He's got an arm you die for, and all those pitchers you mentioned had to make more steps forward than a few steps backwards. It was going to be impossible for Nola to repeat last year. I mean, literally, very few pitchers on the planet, with the exception of Kershaw and Scherzer, have been able to continuously kind of upgrade and get better and better and better. So they're building around Nola. Eflin has made some philosophical changes that look like it's definitely going to work, going away from the 4-seamer back to the 2-seamer. And then they just got to get healthy. That guy's a fun guy to watch pitch because he has the ability to mix in velocity, location, and the ability to spin a baseball as good as anybody.
Third in Cy Young voting last year, but the ERA a 1.5 higher this year. Gave up 4 runs in 6 innings in the Game 1 loss Monday. 3 balls and a strike on Hazley, and back comes Tehran. High drive right center field. Back goes Riley, out of room and gone. Skyscraping 2-run shot from the rookie to put the Phillies in front.
We talked about him keeping the ball in the ballpark for the most part, and unfortunately for Julio, 2 homers and now a lead. I want to correct one thing I said. Ahead and behind, I was looking at Drew Smiley's number and not Julio's numbers, so a little bit of a correction there.
Your point's taken, though. Nobody's great behind in the count. Tough way to live. Michael Franco getting the start today at third base. Strike 1. The huge rookie season before the broken wrist ended that. Was tracking towards a rookie of the year. And it's been all about potential, but then inconsistency. And for the most part, falling short of the expectations that he kind of created for himself for that huge rookie season.
But early on in the 8th spot, he was kind of keeping him going. He was having a great year out of the 8th spot, which is one of the hardest spots to hit in the National League, period. And then to your point, it didn't consistently create those at-bats.
So some time in AAA. He's hit pretty well since returning in his few opportunities, above 300. We're finding playing time a lot harder to come by.
I'm talking to Gabe Kapler and filling out the lineup. He said this one he went back and forth, and he just felt good about defensively. And you know, even though the matchup may not be the perfect one for Franco, he just felt something good would happen.
Julio Tehran, who's been one of the best in the National League this year at keeping the ball in the yard, has given up 2 home runs over the first 2 innings. Here's his 2-2 pitch. Franco lines it up the middle into center field, base hit. Continuing to take advantage of his opportunities.
Pitcher's best friend, the 8th hitter that can get on. Now the pitcher only has to bunt, which, man, later in my career excited the heck out of me.
Did it bother you early in your career, though? You wanted to swing away, right?
I'm going to be honest. I tried to go deep every single time I went to the plate. And early on, I felt like I could do that. And then you realized, uh-oh, there's some dudes that can, back then, rush it up to 93, 94, which is now average.
It was a blur then.
Bunting is something you've got to put the work in to do, and you saw what the Braves were able to do and crash. You cannot allow in the National League a third baseman and first baseman to get on your throat. You just can't. And I know Drew Smiley has been in the American League for a long time, but when we watch this and we watch how close Josh Donaldson gets in, now Freddie Freeman has to wait as long as he can because the runner's at first.
Swings away, chops it up the middle. Albies feeding Swanson late at first. And 2 out.
That's the right approach, because after that first pitch, and you see as a pitcher how close they are, you don't have to hit it hard. You just have to hit it to the vacated spots. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out to get the runner to second at that point. But the point I was going to make about bunting is it's called sacrificing for a reason. You got to sacrifice of yourself to move a runner over. And you can only do that with the ability mechanically to get out in front and use your knees to go up and down, not the bat. The bat should never go up and down. It should be your body. And once you get that mechanical down, it is the easiest thing in the world to do. But most people don't ever want to get to that point to learn how to sacrifice.
Gosh, in Drew Smiley's case, he was just trying to figure out how to do his main job again, coming back from Tommy John, and like you said, coming over from the American League, not something he's done much of. 2-0 on Hernandez. Led off this game with a home run.
But bunting is all about putting in the work. I mean, spring training, granted, his spring training was in the American League, but there's still enough interleague where you've got to learn how to do it. Two things if there were a lot of things that would anger me when I was pitching, and I learned how to temper that a little bit as I got older. But no one should ever bunt on me. That was the one prideful thing I wanted to have. I wanted to control the mound and make that triangle mine, and I should be able to get every bunt down. Now, obviously, that didn't happen in my career, but that was the mindset I had, and I would get furious when I couldn't get a bunt down to increase our team's chances to score a run.
Here's a 3-1. Hernandez watches it catch the corner.
I had a friendly wager with Brett Butler, godfather of one of my daughters, that he would never get a bunt base hit on me while we played against each other. And he was one of the best. I mean, one of the best that ever could lay down a bunt, because he was more of a table setter, and he tried.
You get him?
I got him.
Attaboy. He pay up?
Yep.
3-2. Ball 4.
He got me in spring training with a homer, though. Dodger Town. Back in the day.
Vero Beach. Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, the old pitching coach of the Phillies. Been plenty written about him this week. He was let go by the Phillies. Chris Young promoted. Of course, Braves have had the much better with the two staffs this year. Got a huge doubleheader on Fox in the NFL Sunday. In the early game, Zeke and the Cowboys against the Redskins. And then in America's Game of the Week, it's the Saints and the Rams in a rematch of the NFC Championship. All happening on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Check your local listings.
Boy, week one's a kind of a coin toss with the lack of reps that everybody gets now in preseason. There were some interesting games. I won't bring up the state we root for, the team we root for, but week 2 should be a little better.
Not for our team.
No, you're right.
Break our heart every time, those Lions. 2-on-2 out for Real Muto with the Phillies in front 3-2. Solo shot Hernandez in the first. Hazley 2-run shot in the second. One-0 pitch. Real Muto. It's a grounder to short for Dansby Swanson. That's that for the Phillies in the second, but they take their first lead of the night. In the first inning, it was Hernandez. Here in the second, it's the rookie Hazley with a no-doubt shot and a 3-2 Philadelphia lead. Back here in Philadelphia, Phillies and Braves playing the final game of this 4-game series, with Atlanta taking 2 of the first 3, but the Phillies getting an early lead here in the finale on home runs from Hernandez and Hazley. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal. Special edition of Baseball Night in America. We'll be back with you next Thursday as well. Cubs and Cardinals. You mentioned that big series. A couple of big series between those teams down the stretch, and we'll have Thursday night's game next week.
Absolutely. You know, besides Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Giants, somewhere in between, Cubs Cardinals certainly has been one of those rivalries of got to get there if you can to watch these two go at it. And certainly hard to believe the Cardinals hadn't been in the postseason the last 3 years, so they're trending to break that streak. They've been the model organization for a long time, and the Cubs have had their kind of way with them over the last 3 years.
That said, though, I mean, what's going on with the Cubs? What do you make of their situation going into the final few weeks?
Well, the biggest thing is, like everybody else, you know, when you have injuries, you got to have depth. And the one injuries and the one area they couldn't afford to go bad was their starting pitching. I mean, they've got veteran guys, and they're getting some pleasant, surprising, I guess you would say, starts out of Yu Darvish. But the depth is not there, and so key injuries in their lineup, and Baez going down. It really comes down to the Cardinals found a way that their rotation went to the next level, and the Cubs did not, and that's been the big difference. It was a big teeter-totter all year between those two teams, and the Cardinals, you know, Jack Flaherty's having a historic second half. That's rivaling you know, Jake Arrieta, who's now here and not pitching for the Phillies.
1-2 on Acuna.
Last look, he had a 0.76 ERA for the second half, which is hard to imagine how dominant that has been, and he's got that kind of stuff.
That's a St. Louis team that the Braves have vested interest in. Very likely they'll meet up in the division series that Ken Rosenthal was touching on a little bit ago.
I'm amazed by this young man, and I don't know how long it'll be able to hit like this. And what I mean by the way that he holds his bat, you got to be some kind of strong and quick, because he doesn't really generate much. And he's got it kind of straight up. But boy, oh boy, has he been able to come to taking advantage of the first 2 years of his brief career and maybe long career for the Atlanta Braves.
Can you believe he's still just 21? I mean, he didn't turn 22 until December.
No, I know, and he's learning some things. I mean, he's had to be taught some lessons already, and certainly they won't be the last he learns. But you see this chart right here, and you know, Eddie Matthews, icon for the Atlanta Braves, at 47.
Fly to center field for Kingery. What would Eddie Matthews have done in 2019 with this ball?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's been the biggest and hardest thing to kind of translate moving forward. How do you project or
evaluate? What does 38 home runs mean this year?
Exactly.
And you know, that's not taking anything away from Acuna. That's just the example we have up right now. But there are other guys who we've never seen hit for any kind of power that are suddenly 20 home run guys. How do you evaluate them moving forward, especially the ones who are going to be entering free agency, as Albies slaps it foul?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing there when you're trying to evaluate. You know, look, we got so many numbers in the game, and there's a lot of great numbers, but the numbers for a little while there were starting to determine who's old and who's not. Right? That's hard to do, by the way. You can't just artificially or arbitrarily say all the numbers. Now all of a sudden the ball is the way it is, and older players are starting to have a rejuvenation to. Is it like, how do you gauge that? 39-year-old Nelson Cruz and others are examples of hitting a ton of home runs. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out, you know, over the next year or two, and what comes out of the investigation of the baseball.
I think another way to ask the question is, if everybody is hitting them, is there less value in a player that does? Albies goes down swinging, 2 out.
Which brings me back to the point why I think contact's going to start coming back into the game. When you have the uniqueness of only a few handful of players that have like a 90-91% contact rate, then I think teams are going to be forced to say, okay, we once thought strikeouts are irrelevant, now they matter. I think that's where you're going to see a change, where more contact in lineups. eventually will start playing in the game.
And if you're paying close attention, you see the last 2 seasons, contact has been key as Freeman gets sawed off and lines out to Segura. Last 2 world champions have been the best in baseball, putting the ball in play. Bryce Harper due to lead off next inning for Philadelphia. They've got a 3-2 lead. Back on Baseball Night in America after this. Harper, Hoskins, and Segura coming up for the Phillies here in the bottom of the 3rd. They lead it 3-2. Harper flied to left his first time. Facing a guy in Julio Teheran. He's homered against 8 times. Teheran's first pitch of the 3rd is outside ball 1.
Teheran pitches off the first base side of the rubber, and his first move when he got in trouble earlier in his career, he would go down too far before going to home plate. And where he struggles from time to time is those pitches away. Because of that, he's going to rely on that movement, but at first base he's trying to create an angle that benefits the moving, sinking fastball that he'll throw along with the changeup and curveball. See, that's actually going to be a better pitch the way he throws it than when the ball leaks and it's flat. There's two terminologies you'll hear when you're sitting at home. What is arm side and glove side? Well, if you're looking at the picture, arm side is going to be away to a lefty or into a righty, and glove side is going to be on the inside part of the plate to a lefty or away to a righty. And pitchers usually have one strength or the other. The elite can do both. And that's when you're going to the next level and you can dominate both sides of the plate when you need to.
1-1. On a bounce to Albies. Harper the first out. Let's check in again with Ken.
Guys, if you remember, the Phillies pursued both Bryce Harper and Manny Machado in free agency, ultimately settled on Harper because they felt he'd be a better fit for their market. Well, if you look at these numbers here, the comparison, clearly Harper has had the better year in almost every way, and it's largely due to his big second half. I remember an executive telling me during the offseason he thought the two would have comparable production over their 10-year contracts, but that Harper would be more streaky, Machado more consistent. So far, just the opposite.
Yeah, and Machado had a pretty good head start on him, getting off to a good start this season, and Harper really average over the first month or so. So he had to play catch up to pass him in all those categories. 1 ball, no strikes on Rhys Hoskins.
This guy I thought was going to be an MVP winner and possible candidate because of the addition of Harper and where he would bat in the lineup. He has not caught the fire that I thought he was going to catch. Early on he did. Classic upper swing, meant for this ballpark type swing in Rhys Hoskins. If he was a golfer, he would be hitting the driver as high as anybody, because that's what he's trying to do. Pull the ball, short porch, and anything middle to middle in, he's going to crush. You can get him out middle to middle way because he's still trying to turn and burn, trying to get that ball in the gap, and certainly left field, left center.
On a 2-0 pitch, he watches it drift inside, ball 3. Yeah, he's hit more fly balls than anybody in baseball since his debut. Highest average launch angle of anybody in baseball. But it also exposes him in some ways.
Yes, it does.
He's hitting below 200 since the start of August. You go back even farther than that, the number's pretty pedestrian. He's got a 4-pitch walk.
That surprises me. Like I said, with this lineup and the capabilities that they have collectively, just haven't had 3 guys kind of clicking at once other than early in the year. And that, you need that.
Does that also give you hope that there's a run coming? Because, I mean, you see the names in the lineup, and for them to be within 2.5 games but have not really had one of those tears.
I think there's a run, but it's tough on Gabe Kapler. He can't be patient with his pitching staff. He can't let games get away from him. He can't. And he's going to have to use a lot of pieces, which means a lot of guys that have been, as we talked about, let go by other organizations for one reason or another, trying to rectify their careers in a short period of time for this team or for other teams.
Gene Segura takes ball 1.
I mean, they went out and got some guys. Those guys aren't here. You know, Tommy Hunters. Everybody, it seemed like that they went and got a chance to solidify.
David Robertson
has been a big miss, and now they've got their, you know, Neris kind of get closer to kind of the stopper that they're hoping. Tried Nick Pivetta, you know, in the bullpen. Tried changing roles. Tried everything that they could do to figure out on the fly, by the way, how to get some outs, and some big outs. I mean, a lot of people pointed to, if they don't make the playoffs, I know it's hard to do this, go back to one particular game, but the one particular game that steps up, kind of makes its mark, is the Marlins game. They were up by 7 and lost by, was it 10? They were up 7 runs. That's a hard loss in the middle of a playoff run, and they did bounce back nicely on the road trip, but
2-0 to Segura is in there, 2-1.
And see what it does indirectly with a team that you can never quantify. And I understood it, but didn't really appreciate it until I became a closer. And the stinging losses that happen at the end of the game hurt more. Like, there's no game I ever lost that could compare to blowing a save. And when your bullpen's not locked in, and you have a lot of those.
Segura hits a fly ball to deep left field. Duvall's back. It's gone. 3rd home run of the night for the Phillies. Gene Segura with a 2-run blast, and they lead it 5-2.
That guy's a hitting machine, unorthodox in his own style. All he does is find hits. This ballpark right now, with the wind blowing out to left field, you get any ball in the air to left field, it's gone. It's not a big ballpark, but there are times when the wind is blowing in the direction where it makes it a big ballpark. Therefore, you need line drive underneath, cut the wind. We got a mist falling and the wind blowing out to left field.
Not a fun time on a pitcher, huh?
This is okay unless you stand out there and have to pitch a long time in the particular inning.
Combine it with a wind,
yeah,
and it's already a tough park to pitch in. Strike 1 on Scott Kingery.
This is more of a San Francisco type
It's a little
missed.
candlestick missed.
Oh, don't even say that word around me. That'll get me. I couldn't pitch there. I didn't have success there. Tough place.
Stuff wouldn't break the way you wanted it to.
Wind, weather would come in, short sleeves. Then you needed long sleeves. Then back to. It was amazing.
Kingery shoots it to right. Riley's there. 2 out. We look back at Segura's home run.
This is a breaking ball. It comes out of his hand, and you can see the spin. It's not sharp. He's on the side of the ball. The hitter knows it. The pitcher knows it. Those breaking balls are a perfect recipe for homers when they're not thrown with any kind of tight break. It's got to turn the corner.
Adam Hazley homered himself his first time and takes ball 1.
By the way, since you brought it up, who thought that building a stadium by the bay, backdrop with a little rock mountain, that was going to be a good idea?
They sure improved on it.
Oh, they sure did. What a great ballpark they have now. Absolutely.
2 balls, no strikes. Great to see Johnny Cueto back.
Oh my. Sure is. Been a long time without
all 5 versions of him.
That's right.
The rocking chair.
That's right. Anything to mess up the timing of the hitter.
Hitting his timing, pitching is disrupted. Right?
Nowadays, you get guys that pitch out of this abbreviated stretch like Julio Teheran does and others, and they can quick pitch you out of it. Meaning there's no reason, like he can decide to go right when he gets the ball. He can go now, and he'll mess up the timing that way because there's no back step. It's just literally pitching out of the stretch. Which I still don't understand, because the reason they let you have a windup is for the deception and everything that goes with it. But certain guys, for mechanical reasons, have had a hard time replicating that, so they simplify it by going out of the stretch the entire time.
Streamline things. It's a walk in the 3rd, issued by Teheran. He's having his horse start in a while. The walks have continued to be a problem, but he had given up a total of 3 home runs in his previous 7 starts, and has given up 3 over the first 2 2/3 tonight.
Yeah, he just hasn't been as sharp as we've seen him over the last a month or so, and certainly Philadelphia. I mean, every game's a big game, right? You come to the park, you're playing playoff baseball. It's impossible to not look at the scoreboard. It's impossible to not see the teams that you're in front of you that have won or not. So, look, the Braves are in a great position. Philly, obviously, playing for their lives to try and get in position to compete for the tournament.
Strike 1 on Franco. Big swing and a high pop-up. Foul ground at 3rd, Josh Donaldson. And that does it for the Phillies, who hit another home run, 3 in the first 3 innings tonight. Sponsored by Capital One. What's in your wallet? And by Subway. And about the long ball so far tonight for the Phillies, hitting one in each of the first 3 innings. A 5-2 lead to the 4th. Gene Segura with the latest of the 3 home runs. Hazley and Hernandez have also gone deep. As far as the pitching goes for the Phillies, Drew Smyly has really settled in since giving up a home run to the second hitter of the game.
Yeah, he's trying to keep the ball off the meat of the plate away where Donaldson loves it. So he's tried to do exactly that and then pitch him in. Donaldson, of course, having a super year in the power numbers. He's looking to launch the ball in the air, and if he's able to do that, it'll be a homer.
We showed the numbers Donaldson's first time up, but can draw a line back to early June. Joe Musgrove of the Pirates hit him on June 10th, charged the mound. They both got ejected. Benches cleared. At that point, he had only 9 home runs. Since then, he's got 27.
Yeah, it's been an amazing run, and certainly second half, same kind of power. But he's looking to do damage on a fastball. Breaking balls and changeups up against left-handers are kind of a little bit of a kryptonite because of his aggressive approach, as we talked about the launch angle of trying to get the ball up. But he's revving and going and moving and ready to timing mechanism with those arms.
He's been aboard both times. That snaps a string of 8 in a row. Retired by Smyly. Time for a game break. Here's Mike Hill. All right, Adam Duvall takes ball 1 from Smyly.
And see, this is what I mean about the tough task of Gabe Kapler watching each inning unfold and not being able to take for granted that each inning will be and work itself out. He's got to be prepared to not let any big inning happen, because each win he can kind of put in, obviously moving down the stretch. They're going to have to win about 70% of their games, you would think, what's remaining.
That's going to be easier said than done. They've got the hardest schedule of the contenders over the final few weeks. 2-1.
Fair or not, you know, a lot of things are going to be judged here based on the expectations set forth by the team, right? That's by other people. That's by media. That's by, you know, people who do this for a living. And when this season ends, time will tell on how this team is fairly judged or not. And the point I want to make is, like, you know, in this city, the managerial job is difficult as in and of itself. And Gabe has kept this kind of smooth, kind of easygoing, nothing's going to rattle him approach. And I think that's kind of how you got to do it anyways. But in this city, it doesn't always fairly play up well. And what I mean by that is they want to see a little bit of an anger, a little bit of a, you know, fire, and especially when you have some tough losses and you're answering press conference questions, or players are getting unfairly treated at the batter's box with strikes and balls, and there's things that it's just not in his DNA. And I think it's hard to kind of criticize him on that.
Ken Rosenthal, what do you think about where Gabe Kapler stands right now as far as job security?
If the Phillies miss the playoffs, Joe, the question is going to be there, particularly because Joe Madden might be out there, Buck Showalter is out there, Joe Girardi is out there, and yet I don't know that this is all on the manager. It never is, of course. And one thing we haven't really discussed yet, yes, the Phillies had the injuries, but they overestimated the quality of their rotation. They weren't all that aggressive once the season started. This is a team that spent more than $500 million in free agency.
That ball, Kenny, is blasted to left center field, and Duvall with a no-doubt 2-run shot. Bring the Braves back to within 1. There's a little example of what Kenny's talking about. They've not been able to count on the pitching. You could have Connie Mack managing in there, and it wouldn't matter if pitchers can't get guys out.
Well, he hasn't had a lot of ground ball success. It's been fly balls, strikeouts, right? And the fly balls tonight are not going to stay in the ballpark. So Braves have just as much power as the whole league, seemingly. And tonight's going to be one of those maybe last at bat type nights.
So it's 5-4 game as Duvall hits his 7th of the season, and here's Riley taking strike 1. While Tehran has been one of the best in baseball at limiting home runs, it's the other end of the spectrum for Smiley. He's now given up 31 home runs in 105 innings this year.
Well, after 3, he had given up 0 ground ball outs, 5 Ks, 3 fly balls, and 1 lineout. This one had nothing. This latest home run had nothing to do with the win.
No.
This one was smoked.
.426 feet on this home run from Adam Duvall.
Yeah, the ball up, middle, and no doubter as soon as it leaves the bat. Pretty high launch angle right there.
So we've got 5 home runs over the first 3.5 innings of this game. All 9 runs have come off those homers.
And see, again, you know, with a guy with his kind of breaking ball, you'd want to establish a low fastball so that they would swing at that curveball. But when you go high fastball, low curveball, it's much more difficult to do. And even though there's more free swinging in the game, you've got to set the eyes of the hitter in a place where you're basically trying to create this illusion of where the pitch is supposed to be, and then it ends up somewhere else. But if the variance is too big, then you start giving the hitter an opportunity to lay off what typically should be a tough pitch to lay off.
The 3-2. He gets him looking. That's the 6th for Drew Smiley. 1 gone here in the 4th.
You can hear the whole Braves dugout not happy with that call. A little low, but the hitter Riley right away. That's going to be a tough one for them to watch and be okay with.
Ball 1 on Brian McCann.
Now as a pitcher, I'm going there as many times as I can to put pressure on everyone.
Past the diving Hoskins and down the line, and extra bases for McCann. It's a 1-out double for the catcher.
Now, Hoskins was playing pretty close to the line, but McCann turns on this pitch really quickly, and almost Hoskins gets it, but it just gets by him.
Just like that, the Braves have the tying run in scoring position, and Dansby Swanson coming up.
And this is where you got to get that bullpen hot, and you cannot let this game get away from you as a manager, even though you know there's a lot of innings left to cover. September roster allows you many more resources.
That is ball 1 on Swanson. They had to cover a bunch last night.
See, when the wind's blowing this way for a left-handed curveball, it's actually going to help you have the curveball break more. That's the perfect wind. The opposite problem is, though, that perfect wind helps the hitters if he hits the ball in the air.
Yeah.
So it's a push-pull. You've got the benefit of that wind really affecting your breaking ball and creating more drag, if you will, to break it.
2-0 on Swanson. Phillies got just 3 2/3 from Zach Eflin last night.
And he actually was pitching great until that 2-out 3-run homer to Tyler Flowers on one bad pitch.
And the Braves just fouled off a lot of pitches, ran a lot of deep counts, and he had thrown 95 pitches before the 4th inning was over. The pitch count getting up there for Drew Smyly. This would be his 76th. McCann at second, 1 away, and a 2-0 pitch to Dansby Swanson is cut on and missed, 2-1.
That stat I gave you about Tehran is really the stat of Smyly. That's about 140 percentage points or so, the difference between pitching ahead and pitching behind for Drew Smyly. Never a good spread unless you're ahead. Average is about 100.
But a lineup like Atlanta's, can't that serve to kind of spook you out of the zone, spook you from getting right in there ahead 0-1?
Yeah, there's no doubt. You just have to find ways to go strike one, though. I mean, against a powerful lineup that can strike out a lot, and the Braves do strike out a lot. They're in the top 5, if I believe, in the National League. You've got to find ways to trust your pitches and know which hitters are going to be aggressive when they're ahead in the count. That's the task. Meaning, if I know a guy's aggressive 2-0, I don't typically have to throw him a strike.
2-2, full count.
But you have to make the pitch look like it's going to be a strike out of your hand. Pitching can be as simplified as if every pitch comes out of the same release point, you have an advantage, because the hitter's looking for any deviation, anything to tip him one way or another that another pitch is coming other than fastball. And most hitters will tell you they're never coming off a fastball.
Here's a 3-2. Swanson chops it foul. Very similar to last night. Many deep counts against Smyly. This is the 7th full count out of the first 17 hitters of this game.
And the reason he's still in there is, of course, Tehran is, on deck as the pitcher. Looks like Jared Hughes in the bullpen.
Smyly still with a chance to get out of it with the lead intact. Home with another 3-2. Swanson rifles it on a line to left. Hazley comes on and makes the catch. He'll throw back to second. A double play. Adam Hazley, night in and night out, showing off great defense in left. On of a new era as WWE Friday Night SmackDown comes to Fox with the action unleashed every Friday night beginning October 4th, only on Fox. We're going to have a visitor in Chicago next week. Mentioned the Baseball Night in America Thursday night. Oh yeah, Braun's coming to hang.
Don't think I ain't sneaking behind him and try to put him in a pretzel.
Uh-oh. Better you than me.
Maybe he can fix my hips.
Braun Strowman. So October 4th, WWE coming to Fox. Braun coming to the Fox baseball booth next Thursday. Brad Miller pinch hitting, ending Drew Smiley's night. Leading off this fourth with the Phillies in front 5-4. One ball, one strike.
Great pitch right there by Julio, just gearing up for the fastball. Great arm action change up. Of course, Miller way out in front, selling out for fastball.
Check swing tapper. Tehran will field it and shovel it onto first to get him. Kenny, I know you were kind of midway through telling us about the managerial situation when that home run happened.
Right, Joe. What I was saying was the Phillies have spent $572 million the past 2 off seasons. And their front office going into this season, you would have thought would have been very aggressive, continuing their quest to get back to relevancy, back to the postseason. And yet they've been somewhat passive. And their reasoning was this, that they didn't want to go all in to play in the wild card game. And then if they win that game, possibly play the Dodgers, who at the time looked incredibly mighty. But here's the deal. The NL wildcard race is full of teams that are seriously flawed. The Dodgers right now look more vulnerable than they have. They're still very good, but they have questions in the bullpen, even some questions in the rotation. And you can't pick your timeline. And that is the question that a lot of fans have with the Phillies, the questions I have with them. I wrote about it this week. They could have been more aggressive. They could have signed Dallas Keuchel. They could have gone after some of the bigger relievers.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point that one would based on the beginning in their offseason, one would kind of think if they were in position, they would have looked at some of their prospects as worth it to make those defining moves. But all that being said, and I get it, and they still got a chance, you know, and the one thing they didn't have last year at this time of the year was they had a free fall and didn't have a chance.
2 under Hernandez on the corner, 2-2.
And so when you start thinking about, it's a whole nother subject about window of opportunity to win. Those windows in baseball terms are shorter than what most people would like to see.
He retires Hernandez for the first time tonight. His first strikeout, 2 away. If the season ended today, this is what the postseason would look like. Cubs and Brewers played in a divisional tiebreaker last year. They would play in a wild card tiebreaker at this point. And Nationals a 3-game lead for the top wild card spot. And it would be the Braves and the Cardinals in the division series. Calendar turns, action ramps up. You can go to MLB.com/postseason for the full schedule. Bases empty, 2 gone. JT Realmuto.
I know one team that wants to see chaos. That's going to be the team more than likely the Dodgers with the best record. They want to see 3-4-way tie for. They want to see all kinds of people pitching to try and get to them, eventually to them. Use as many resources as possible.
They want to see lots of charts and diagrams. Yeah. They were on the other end of that last year. Remember, they had to go to a 163rd game just to win the division. Clinched the division 2 days ago this season. They needed 163 to beat the Rockies last year. Here's a 2-0 to Realmuto, who has grounded out twice tonight. Golfs it foul, 2-1.
Well, the competitive races, for the most part, were going to come from the National League, and so far, that hasn't totally played out. I thought, not necessarily in the West, but I thought this division, I thought the Central is playing out exactly the way I thought it would play out. Well, once the Braves took control of this division, it's really been an interesting to watch them hit their peak at the right time when teams were trying to chase them down. I mean, Nationals were about as hot a team as you can get. And they went into Atlanta and lost the first 3 games, and that takes a lot of air. When you're going into Atlanta facing 4 games, knowing that team's coming back to you in Washington this weekend, this is where they leave after that, you feel pretty good about your chances to chop that lead down and possibly overtake the Braves, even though it was, at that time, 5 or 6 games that they were trailing.
It's like almost a sure thing at this point. Braves are going to win a 2nd consecutive division title. They've already got more wins than they had during last year's division title run. Bases empty, 2 gone, a 2-2 to Real Muto. Ball 3.
You can only play the games that are on your schedule, and sometimes those teams are a little bit different at that point of scheduling, right? And so the team that, interestingly enough, could benefit from playing the Braves the final 3 games of the season, but let's just say the Braves got the division wrapped up but don't have anything to play for, or best records wrapped up for the Dodgers, the Mets.
Nice play by Tehran. And he finishes off his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. Yeah, Bat app delivers with live baseball on your favorite devices, so you can follow the races of the postseason clinches with pitch tracking, video highlights, up to the moment standings, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. 5-4 game, top of the 5th. Drew Smyly finished. So from one relatively new Philly to another, and Jared Hughes, who, John, they got on August 15th off waivers from Cincinnati. This is already his 16th game for the Phillies.
Yeah, it's amazing. Quite different ability to get hitters out. He's going to rely on that heavy sinker and more ground balls, where Drew Smyly gave up a few fly balls, some that didn't stay in the park.
Pinch hitter Rafael Ortega takes strike one. Ortega 1 for his last 23. That lone home run, though, a grand slam and a win against the Dodgers in early August. It was really the beginning of this great run for Atlanta. On a 1-1 from Hughes, Ortega takes ball 2.
And you see the defense that they're employing. It's just still hard for me to believe that a leadoff hitter with that whole left side of getting on base, just laying down a bunt, getting on base. Rarely do they do it, and hits right into the shift.
Hernandez has to hurry it, and does. Time for the first out.
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to my man Bobby Cox. He is battling, coming back, and recently went back to Braves to see a game, and obviously 21 years of being around that man, I couldn't tell you how awesome it was. I mean, he's working his way back, pulling for you, Bobby. Unfortunately, pretty sure you're watching. Unfortunately, I've been on the road too much and feel bad I haven't gotten a chance to see him, but I'll be able to see him soon.
Top of the order here in Acuna Jr. Who chops one along third. There's Franco. There's a close play, but out number 2. And you can send that shout out to him through a Braves game like this, because like you said, you can be almost certain if there's a Braves game on, Bobby's watching.
Absolutely. And he loves the game. He's been in the game forever, and all of that speaks for itself. But I became a better man having been around him for all those years. And I'll be honest, I mean, you know, becoming a free agent 4 times, I didn't want to go anywhere, but I was a free agent 4 times, so you have to figure out what you're going to do. And I'm fortunate, was able to always work it out, and until that last very year, played 21 years with that man.
Ball 1 on Albies. You looked here a couple times, right?
I tell you what, this was some pretty good incentives after '96 becoming a free agent. They tempted me here with Marion and Pine Valley.
Oh, they know the keys to your heart.
That's doing your homework. I mean, that had me very, very intrigued. 2 of the greatest golf courses in the world, not too far from this city. There's so many good golf courses in this part of the town.
2-0. Ball 3. Ultimately, though, the comfort and the respect you had for Bobby.
I wanted to play for him my whole career. Basically did.
A 4-pitch walk to keep this inning alive for Atlanta. Has there ever been a more committed players manager than Bobby Cox?
I don't think so. You're going to get some people close. You know, Terry Francona, Tony La Russa. I mean, you know, Bruce Bochy. Those style of managers kind of fading out of the game for a lot of reasons, but getting a chance actually to play for both Terry Francona and Tony La Russa after, you know, that 1 year for Boston and St. Louis, as I called it, a career after that. Very similar in ways in how they managed their ball club and how they treated their players.
1-0 on Freeman.
Brian Snitker, of course, being in the Braves for over 45 years in the system, right up that, you know, right up that same alley with how Bobby did things. Our third base coach and then bullpen coach was Snitker for all those years. And then lo and behold, he's sitting there at AAA doing, you know, what he hoped to do probably for a while, and content being the AAA manager right down the road in Gwinnett. He gets the call. Maybe some arm twisting, accepts the job, and manager of the year, and look what he's doing for the Braves in these incredible, really, 2 years. They caught everybody by surprise last year. There's no way anyone thought they could win the division. They win the division this year. They've added some players that have kind of helped take them to this point. Now a stronghold on the division with the eyes of a deep run.
Freeman cracks his bat on a fly ball to right for Bryce Harper to finish the 5th. Halfway home in Philadelphia, the Phillies by a run on Baseball Night in America. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Sprint. Switch today. If you're not following MLB on social media, you should be. So follow MLB on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. That's what they're doing.
You know, if I had that stuff, that's what I would follow.
You would? You'd be following
If
one.
I had all that, I would. I just don't have that stuff.
Luke Jackson on to pitch for the Braves. There's a time this season when Jackson was their closer. It's not the case anymore, but still somebody they'd like to be able to rely on to get outs when October rolls around.
Yeah, this move with the trades they made with those three relievers have really helped Luke Jackson in the sense that, you know, trying to be a closer at a young man, the pressure, he's going to rely heavily on sliders, good fastball. But I think the overall strength, you see that slider right away come out of his hand and Bryce swinging at it. The overall strength now is becoming more and more that the Braves bullpen can compete with most of the clubs and the arms that they have there. It's now a lot deeper than it was.
Harper 0 for 2 tonight. Fly out and a ground out behind 0-1. Jackson comes home. And Harper lifts one to left. Wind's been blowing in that direction. Duvall to the track. Make the catch. And it's not just the fact that they've added Melanson and they've added Shane Green and they've added Chris Martin. It's the trickle-down effect from that. Like with Jackson, like you're talking about, moving them into better roles.
Absolutely. No one can understand that role, especially a youngster or a guy who hasn't had much experience. It's a tough place when you have to deal with failure. The veteran guy has gotten used to it, not that they want to, but they know how to handle it and don't make too big a deal out of it. This young man's got a bright future for the Braves, and his ability to manipulate the baseball and make it turn left.
Hoskins. Walked in front of the Segura home run his last time. Two and up. Braves with 2 in the first and 2 in the fourth. Home runs from Albies and Duvall. The Phillies getting a home run in the first from Hernandez, homer in the second from Hazley, and a homer from Segura in the third. 2-1.
So that's just a great pitch. I mean, that ball, the reason they love his slider and they want him throwing as many as possible is it just disappears. That pitch is right there and then gone. The hitter cannot pull the trigger. Now, easier said than done. You got to hit with your fastball to make that pitch even more enticing.
Coming inside with a 2-1 and misses ball 3.
So now if I'm thinking along with McCann, I'm throwing a 3-1 slider. If you're throwing it 2-0, you're throwing it 3-1. Fastball away.
Missed his location, but got the result he was looking for. 3-2. There's the slider to get him swinging. 2 out. So the offense formidable, of course, but the pitching has told the story as they've turned the corner since early August, going 19-4 over the last 23 games. And they brought in Green, they brought in Melanson, they brought in Chris Martin. All those guys struggled over the first week or two, but they've all gotten right. And of course, adding Dallas Keuchel in early June didn't hurt either. Strike 1 on Segura.
Yeah, you make that transition. Some guys came from last place clubs to first place clubs, and all of a sudden that's a jolt. That feels good, but then you feel like you need to pitch to that level that they expect you to pitch to, and you make the necessary adjustments.
Chopper left side that'll sneak through. 2-out single for Gene Segura, his second hit of the night.
Looked like McCann might have been crossed up there, even though they got the hit. His reactions showed me that maybe he was anticipating slider. Let's see if I read that correctly. Yeah, you don't react like that if you're give a fastball's being thrown. So they had a little cross up there, and
your McCann, you wind up being kind of okay with it. The ball was put in play
at that point, especially if you can get it out.
Yeah. Inning kept alive for Kingery. Runner takes off, throw down, not in time, and a stolen base for Gene Segura. Albies wants him to take a look.
Quick release by McCann, and tag was as quick as they can put on it, and they're going to be safe. But I almost think the way the guys slide, if you know a guy slides in head first and you can come up the line a little bit to make a quicker tag. You see Javier Baez does that better than anybody in the game I've ever watched in a long time, and he makes it look so fluid and so easy.
Something the Phillies have done really well lately. 15 of their last 15 in stolen base opportunities over the last 16 games now.
That'll get it done.
Don't see anybody doing it at that kind of rate.
I've always said the most amazing part of the game where people shut that running game down is the ninth against closers who typically don't even hold runners on. But the thought of making an out in a close game in the ninth, nobody wants to have to answer that.
Freeman out of room. With as many guys that you feel like you can catch lightning with in one swing, you can understand the fear of giving an out away.
I can understand it, but when it's there and it has such a high rate of success, why wouldn't you want to put more pressure on that pitcher? Because if the pressure on the pitcher is only whether a guy hits a homer or not, that pitcher's going to win more times than not. But if all of a sudden that pressure's got to think about holding the runner and his delivery to home, it starts affecting the hitter at the plate. And if you got to worry about two different things going on at once, that's got to be a little more stressful than just worrying about, I walk the guy, I'll strike out the next guy. Or even if I walk the first two, then no one's going anywhere. They're not bunting. They're trying to hit 3-run homers. So it kind of feeds into the stuff mentality that a lot of these guys have. But your point is well taken. Homers get you right back in it. But against elite closers, I'm talking about top-notch guys that stringing together 3 hits, 2 hits might be more difficult.
And you can't quantify the mental fatigue that causes that you're talking about. That's an impossible thing to put a number on.
But I'm talking about historically slow deliveries to home plate, like walking leads and go. And that's why a couple teams have added in their roster some speed elements for that late inning. Yeah,
Billy Hamilton. Kingery down swinging, and a scoreless 5th for Luke Jackson. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Boost Mobile, the switch that gives you more. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Philly Fanatic and friends. The 5-4 game as we go to the 6th. Josh Donaldson to lead things off. Heart of the order against Jared Hughes, and there is ball 1. Donaldson's reached both times, single in the first, walked and scored on Duvall's home run in the 4th. Big swing and a little foul, 1-1.
That's what they want to Mike, to try to get that sinker below the barrel of the bat. So make it look like it's going to stay over the plate and then dive down and in and utilize the lift of his swing.
Nine runs in this game, all off home runs. 3 for the Phillies, 2 for the Braves. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Perfect example right there. Great pitch to an aggressive hitter. Starts out of his hand, looks like it's definitely going to be in the strike zone, and then disappears.
Coming inside with a 2-2 and getting him looking over the inside corner.
Definitely the side of the plate where they're getting a few inches, pitchers, if they make their spot. And there's always that one pitch. You see that rotation in. And that's what he's saying. The ball was inside.
A couple right-handed hitters for the Braves complaining tonight. Home plate umpire Roberto Ortiz's zone. That's inside, ball one on Duvall.
Well, you know, and again, this is a hard job behind the plate and calling balls and strike, because our view at home and the view on the monitor is not exactly perfect. It's an angle off of, can't be center because the pitcher would be in the way. So you got to pick a side, and the umpires pick a side on the plate for which they set up when the catcher, they set up inside. So that's the pitch right there. And I'd always tell my catcher, let me know where the inch or two is off the plate, and we are going to start trying to steal that pitch as much as we can. Put as much pressure on the hitter and the umpire as possible. Back in the old days when they had the big chest protector and they sat right above the catcher, you know, I know it's not the technology we have today, but it just seemed like they were center over the plate, could see both sides, call each lane. Now it's a little different.
3-1. Hughes to Duvall. That's tap foul and the count goes full. Budweiser game summary. Phillies in front 5-4, hitting 3 home runs in this game, and as we mentioned, all the runs both sides coming off long balls.
Pitchers a little off their game today from a location standpoint, and the hitters taking advantage of it, and the wind for the most part has been blowing out to left field.
It's a walk for Duvall. Would not be a great night to pitch here, right? I know you mentioned for left-handed pitchers maybe help your breaking ball, but the Spark is already a tough one to pitch in, and then you got that wind out to the pull field from these righties.
This place can play small, and then I've seen it where, you know, it can play big, but it's been a hitter's ballpark since its inception, and pitchers have had to learn how to adjust, and kind of that's what makes Aaron Nola's year last year so incredible. I mean, to put up those kind of numbers, there was a, you know, 1 1.5 to 2 year run that Cliff Lee, Doc Holliday, Cole Hamels, they made this ballpark look big, which is a credit to their talent, because it's hard to do.
Oh, on to Austin Riley, swing and a miss, 0-2. The Phillies this year have given up more home runs than any previous Phillies pitching staff, but a lot of pitching staffs can say that.
Yeah, it goes back to our early statement. It's like, okay, the Minnesota Twins shattered with a month to go the all-time home run club record, right? I'm gonna say 5 teams break that original record,
which was set just last year by New York.
And there's a good chance that New York catches Minnesota to end up being the whole record holder, which is crazy. So teams are definitely taking advantage of the style and philosophical approach to getting the ball. Quickest run is a home run.
1-run game in the 6th as the 1-2 comes home from Hughes to Riley. Swings and misses. 2 out. Riley struck out all 3 times tonight.
It's just nasty movement.
It's going to be the final hitter that Jared Hughes faces. Tying run at first, 2 gone, 6th inning. Back to the bullpen goes Gabe Kapler. Big noon Saturday, number 6 Ohio State facing Indiana. And then the Cyhawk Trophy up for grabs, Iowa and Iowa State. And then in primetime, Oklahoma and UCLA from the Rose Bowl. And catch it all on Fox, FS1, or the Fox Sports app.
That's where you're going to be, right?
Yeah, headed to the Rose Bowl this weekend.
You're going to see the Heisman Trophy winner, I guess.
Oh, you got an early prediction there, huh?
I think so.
Strike one on McCann. So you got 3 consecutive Oklahoma quarterbacks winning Heismans.
It's amazing.
Ranger Suarez has been pretty good for the Phillies out of the bullpen. 9 consecutive scoreless appearances. Delivers an 0-1 and a tacked foul.
He's going to throw a 4-seamer most of the time, and change up curveball slider. And for the most part, of course, they would like for him to face left-handed hitters. Pretty tough on lefties.
Thought he'd gotten strike 3, but instead ball 1 for the 24-year-old Ranger Suarez.
Perfect pitch away.
On the ground is second. Hernandez stabs it and throws McCann out. To the bottom of the 6th we go, with the Phillies in front by a run.
All
Really? Your dad into it?
played for 50 years.
Five-4 Phillies in front as Adam Hazley comes up. He's made a couple nice plays over the last couple nights. This was earlier tonight. StatCast powered by AWS. He's able to convert this double play. 25% catch probability. Made a play last night where the catch probability was 10%. And so StatCast had it as one of the best defensive plays of the year for the Phillies. It takes ball 1 from the new Braves pitcher Sean Newcomb.
I'd like to know the catch probability of Acuña's almost catch.
And then how about the inside the park home run probability? That couldn't have been too high.
Newcomb, as a left-handed starter, has struggled at times with the Braves in command, but I still like the upside of this young man. They got him in the pen now.
Induces a bouncer to Swanson for the first down of the 6th. Over in the American League, Yankees swept a doubleheader against the Tigers tonight to extend the best record in baseball, but more injuries, Ken?
Yes, Joe. Hard as it is to believe, here's what's going on with the Yankees right now. Edwin Encarnacion, left oblique. J. Happ, left biceps tendonitis. Both have gone back to New York for further examination. Gary Sanchez also left today's game with a left groin issue. He could be headed back to New York as well. He missed 16 games earlier with that injury this season. Now, remember as well, the Yankees this week lost Aaron Hicks, most likely for the season with his elbow issue. They had been bracing for that news, and Mike Tauchman as well. So if you remember, we were talking a few weeks back about how in the world are the Yankees going to fit in Giancarlo Stanton. Now they need more Stanton than they ever knew.
Yeah, it always tends to work itself out, doesn't it? And not in the way the Yankees want, but they got a spot for Stanton now. It's a breaking ball strike, and it's 1-2 on Franco.
And that's without Clint Frazier playing many games. Of course, struggled a little bit with defensive lapses, but he can hit.
Franco down the line. That's a fair ball into the right field corner. Maikel Franco with extra bases, his second hit tonight.
High fastballs are the flavor of pitching when you can elevate above the hands, and guys that are trying to launch, but that was just better hitting on a high fastball when they're pulled against your pull side, expecting you to pull, and you hit it the other way.
Jose Perella to pinch hit. 5-4 game in the 6th. Acquired from the San Diego Padres in late July. Spent much of this season in AAA. 3 for 6 since his call up to the Phillies. Chases a first pitch curve, strike one.
See, that's a signature pitch that Newcomb possesses, and he reminded me a lot when he broke in with the Braves, coming from the Angels, of John Lester. Body type, the way that he can throw.
Kind of look alike too.
They really do. I mean, this is a big. You just look at this guy saying, okay, if he gets it together. I mean, that's great upside for a starting pitcher who looks like he could carry the load of 200 innings or so, even though that's not in vogue right now, but it will be soon. It's coming.
You think?
Yeah.
In the same way that more contact hitters are coming?
Yeah, our good friend John Shambi, probably listening in, would agree.
Would he?
I don't know.
1-2.
I just wanted him to jump out of whatever chair he's sitting in watching this game.
I think you've accomplished that. John Shambi, noted fan of length from starters. Third time through the order. 2-2. Big fan.
Big arm, fastball, command is one of the areas he can improve to go to the next level. Repeating his delivery.
Breaking ball served in the air to center. Acuna on at first. Now goes back and makes the catch in the palm of the glove. Misread it off of the bat, but smooth and athletic enough to overcome that.
I think part of the reason he might have misread it is he hit it out on his front foot. He looked like he was out on his front foot, but got better wood than maybe the talented center fielder for the Braves could have reacted off the bat, but made up for it. Pure athleticism.
They think long term best position is right field for him.
Yep.
Especially if they get Ender, I guess in the short term they get Ender and Ciarte back.
But he can play anywhere. I'm watching him like a young Andrew Jones.
Ball one on Cesar Hernandez.
I wonder what that feels like when somebody says that. Like, I wonder what Andrew Jones feels like. That's a young Andrew Jones.
What do you feel
It's
like
a young
somebody
Joe
says
Davis
you're
coming up?
young John Smoltz?
I don't know. I'd have to see it.
Who are they saying it about? Let's see if he's any good. What's his short game like?
Can he putt?
1-1. Hernandez a home run tonight, a leadoff home run.
By the way, I dig these Phillies.
They
jerseys.
are sweet, aren't they?
They are.
The Braves throwbacks that they're wearing, like Friday nights at home,
Yeah.
are also very cool. Here's an idea for Players Weekend. What about if the players pick a throwback jersey?
Yeah. I'm all for it.
You know, each team can pick one from a different era.
This one didn't. This year was
not great. Not great.
Depending on which team had to wear the dark uniforms, looked like there were extra fielders in the
with the umpires.
With the umpires looking just like I psychologically for some of the hitters, you're like, oh my gosh, there's nowhere to hit the ball.
Hit it through this shift, buddy. We've got 6 on the left side of the infield. Franco at second, 2 out, and a 2-2 that Hernandez punches through the right side base hit. Franco's headed home. Riley's throw to the plate is perfectly done, but he missed the tag. And Franco's in safely to make it 6-4. He just swiped it early.
Yeah, McCann was trying and thinking that he was going to actually be closer than it was, and when he made the swipe, his leg hadn't got there, and he actually missed it, and it looked like he got in. Great throw from Riley, but the catcher's looking at a ball from right field, and when he catches it, he thinks he can make that tag thinking he's there, and he wasn't there yet. Riley with a great throw, one hopper, perfect. But McCann anticipating like I thought. That was not a great turn by Franco going to third base. But it worked out for the Phillies.
They get some insurance. 6-4 as Hernandez drives in his second run tonight. First run in this game that hasn't come off a homer.
Great piece of hitting too. He went the other way.
Hernandez taking second with a throw. Real Muto with a 2-out chance. Newcomb's 0-1. Strike 2. Got him to chase one in the dirt to finish off the inning, but the Phillies add one and a 2-out base hit from Cesar Hernandez. And then a play at the plate. Looked like the Braves were going to have him, but Franco somehow is in there safely. Sports Super 6 app and play our weekend games for free for a chance to win up to $250,000. Is that motivation enough, John? You should get that app.
It is motivation enough.
Dansby Swanson leading off the 7th against Blake Parker. Drops in a breaking ball, strike one.
Fastball split, curveball. See the numbers on the year. Unique style to get ready to pitch. A lot of movements, twitches.
He was getting ready to come out with a sweet dance.
There's that split.
Sweet pitch. 0-2.
I got to see a runner on and see what happens when the runner gets on. Either that or ants are crawling.
Oh, 2. Can make you squirm just thinking about it. It's happened to all of us on the playground.
You know, your partner in crime, Oral Hershiser.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Got introduced in Atlanta, golfing with me, to the pesky fire ants. When you step in one of those, it is torture.
And he stripped down right in the golf course.
He had to undress. He had to. I mean, at first you don't know what's going on. He's got a bunch of. And I didn't know what was going on. I'm like,
wow, this Hershiser, huh?
yeah, and they can be. That's nasty.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Swanson leading off the 7th for Atlanta and swinging through a fastball for the first out. Well, the Braves, speaking of Oral Hershiser, are nipping at the heels of the Dodgers in terms of best record in the National League, within 3 games of the Dodgers. And best record in baseball right now belongs to the Yankees, who swept the doubleheader earlier. This, of course, is important for home field advantage, especially once you get to the World Series.
Yeah, and I think that for the Braves, it would just have to happen organically, because I don't think they have the resources to go after
to chase it.
Yeah, just so many different dynamics at play. Young pitchers haven't, pitched as deep as they're pitching this year, and the depth of their roster. If it works out with other pieces, so be it. I mean, the Dodgers are well equipped. Obviously, they already clinched their division. And it's not as important to the Dodgers to have the best record, even though it looks like they will. It's just not, they're not built. It doesn't matter. Whereas the Braves, you could argue that if within, let's say, a game with 3 to play, that would be the interesting dilemma that Brian Snitker would be faced with.
Matt Joyce pinch hitting. 1 ball, 1 strike. Joyce has been really important for these Braves with the injuries they've dealt with in the outfield. Notably Nick Markakis. On a 1-1 pitch from Parker. He takes a strike. Kenny Markakis very close.
He's extremely close. In fact, he's expected to be activated on Friday, Joe. And what's interesting is Matt Joyce has played so well that they believe they're going to try Nick Markakis in left field, a position he has played, or at least started in, only 27 times in his 14-year career. Joyce is a heck of a story in himself. If you remember, in spring training, he went to 3 teams in 5 days.
Flies to left here.
And eventually, he goes from the Giants to the Braves, and the Giants were going to release him. The Braves could have signed him to a contract at that point, but there was no time. They said, let's do a trade instead. That way we don't have to worry about drawing up a contract. Joyce told his agent in a text, I don't know what city I'm in. I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know what uniform I'll be wearing. But if I get a fastball, I'll hit the heck out of it. And he has done that all season. But come Friday, Markakis in left, at least against certain pitching, and Joyce in right.
And this man in center, and Acuna. And then you figure it out again if and when you get Ender Inciarte back. Tonight, Acuna's 0 for 3. Reached on an error to open the game and came in to score after stealing 2 bases. He is going to make a legitimate run at 40-40. Needs 2 home runs and 4 steals over the final couple weeks.
And I've always said, you know, maybe I'm different. If that's part of your game, great. But if that's just part of, like, once you get the homers and then all of a sudden you start stealing, I'm not into that. But this is part of his game.
Right.
This is a weapon. And you've seen other guys before just kind of all of a sudden they start stealing a lot because they've reached one half of that little area that makes it unique.
Well, they may try, but as we mentioned earlier, it's only happened 4 times in the history of the sport.
Well, what was it that Jose Canseco used to say? If you thought that was a big deal, I'd have done 50-50.
Canseco did it, Bonds did it, A-Rod and Alfonso Soriano. Could Ronald Acuna join that group at the age of 21?
No, it's our game is filled with dynamic, young, talented players. No doubt about that. Impact, making impacts.
A couple guys that they've signed to long-term extensions within a few days of each other. These best buddies, Acuna and Albies, at the top of the order. On a 3-1 pitch, he fouls it back 3-2.
Well, I know this. If they're best buddies and based on those 2 contracts, Acuna better be buying a lot of dinners.
8 for 100. Albies 7 for 35. And these best buddies, their favorite thing to do is play baseball. The top 3 in the National League in games played this season. The top 3 in the order for Atlanta. A 3-2. And a fly ball to center field. Back he goes to the wall and gone. Ronald Acuna Jr. with a solo shot. A step closer within a home run of 40.
You cannot, and I emphasize, cannot against this young hitter leave any secondary pitches over the middle of the plate. You either got to beat him up with velocity or get the pitch off the plate. And when you watch him hit this ball, he knows right away. See, that splitter comes right back over the middle and it's perfect swing. And he's like, yep, that ball is crushed. Now, he's had his issues from time to time with a couple moments of being called in the principal's office, but he's working it out.
Albies serves one down the line, a base hit. Thinking 2 out of the box. On his way to second, he'll make it easily. Just like that, Atlanta has the tying run in scoring position. So you get the homer from Acuna, the double from Albies, and Freddie Freeman, who's been one of the best hitters in baseball with runners in scoring position over the last decade or so. He's going to see a new pitcher.
Well, this is a committed swing, and then the pitch kind of fools him. And by fooling him, he hits it off the end of the bat.
Just a little flick of the wrist. Tying run in scoring position. 2 gone in the 7th. Back in a moment. The Braves within one. Albies following with a double, and Freddie Freeman with a chance to tie it. Jose Alvarez out of the Phillies bullpen, delivering strike one. Freeman 0 for 3 tonight. On an 0-1 pitch. Carves it out foul, and it's 0-2.
These games are so much different in September, and unfortunately it means so much more to have the kind of resources that a club have in September. I'm so glad that next year the rule change is going to be in play. Won't be able to bring in 4 lefties, 6 righties, and mix and match. But while you have the resources in September call-ups, clubs are taking advantage of it. No more so than recently doing some games in Boston.
Oh man.
With the Twins and the Red Sox. You ready for this? Red Sox had 17 relievers. Twins 15. That's 32 pitchers that if there's a skirmish or something on the field, like a little scuffle, it's going to look like people coming out of the stands. And those 2 games back to back were reliever ball games. Aaron Judge in 2 games faced 8 different pitchers and 8 at-bats. 1 being a duplicate, meaning he pitched the first game and then he came back and pitched the second. But 8 different pitchers and 8 at-bats.
Another 0-2 to Freeman is taken low. Of course, next year the limit in September will be 28. The regular roster size will be 26.
And I think, don't quote me on this, but I would think that the process would be to not just be able to take off your 4 starters that aren't pitching that day, because that would add 4 more relievers. Right. I think the thing is to have 28 roster spots.
Alvarez gets the job done, getting Freeman to chase, straining the tying run in scoring position. But Ronald Acuna Jr. hits the home run, and it's a 1-run game as we stretch in Philadelphia. This is sponsored by Budweiser. Join the team that enjoys responsibly. Budweiser reminds you to drink wiser. Here in Philadelphia, it is 6-5. Phillies in front of the Braves as we go to the bottom of the 7th. 3 home runs on both sides tonight. Most recent one from Ronald Acuna Jr. Here's Jerry Blevins out of the Braves bullpen.
Slender fella. lefty. And with a couple teams, the Mets.
Bryce Harper leads off the inning, watches a breaking ball drop in there, strike one. 6'6", 190, slender Jared Levens.
Not so sure about the 190 part. Might be generous.
Yeah. Back-to-back breakers, 0-2.
You know, once they put your signing weight on the cards, that just stays there. 6'3".
So why even work the bulk or cut weight? You are what you are, man.
6'3", 185.
So you were, still are, huh? Baseball Reference.
No chance.
Test. Here comes an 0-2. Ball one.
Hello.
By the way, you may be the most disciplined broadcaster that I've ever been around. Your eating habits are off the chart.
Oh, thank you, man. You are 6'3", 210, according to Baseball Reference.
Oh, they upped it. Pitched most of my career at 225.
Okay. Harper bounces one up the middle. Ranging to his left is Dansby Swanson, and he throws him out one away. Game break. Here's Mike Hill. All right, Mike, going to have a pitching change here. Blevins retires the lefty. Harper now a run of right-handers. And so that's what Brian Snitker goes to in a 6-5 game in the 7th.
All right, all right. Am I on? Test, test, test. Mic check. Mic check. Oh, I feel like this is not working. Loud static, all right. Mic check. Mic check.
Well, the veteran Blevins gets Harper. Now it's another veteran, Darren O'Day, on to face Rhys Hoskins in a 1-run game in the 7th. Frisbee's in, strike one.
He was so good with the Orioles. Of course, they had a way underrated bullpen when Zach Bretton was over there, and Darren O'Day, you could see, not getting much action, but activated. Trying to see what he can put together here in the last couple of weeks. And
quickly ahead 0-2. Yeah, you mentioned his days in Baltimore. I mean, if you just go season by season, look at his ERA. 2.28, 2.18, 170, 152. That's 4 years in a row where he is elite
in a bandbox.
Right.
Of course, sustained that injury, and Braves rehabbed him and trying to get him right back to that level.
Hoskins turns on it foul. And not just pitching in a bandbox, pitching in that division.
Yeah.
Braves got him in a trade at the deadline last year, along with Kevin Gausman. One ball, 2 strikes on Hoskins. Didn't pitch for him last year, tore his hamstring. And has missed most of this season with a forearm strain. Said it's as excited as he's been in a long time to pitch. Have it taken away from me for that long. About a year and a half without pitching in the majors. Hoskins towards the left field corner. That'll one hop against the wall. Duvall plays it perfectly. His throw in. Not in time. Hoskins with a double.
Same things as Acuna with Hoskins. Breaking balls that don't break and are flat over the middle of the plate. Bad recipe. He hit it so hard he knew he had to get to second base.
Hoskins' first hit tonight. Up comes Gene Segura, who's got a home run and a single.
What the fudge?
Almost hit him. By the way, it didn't take long for Freddie Freeman or Brian McCann's missed tag to look big. The insurance run to look big. The Braves quickly climbing within 1 instead of tying it. Two and 0.
So unique with this. Watch where his hands are. You almost feel like you could get in there and tie him up. He's so quick. Where he's vulnerable is breaking stuff away, actually, but definitely he seeks a lot of hits over the last few years.
One of the 4 All-Stars they acquired this winter. Trade from Seattle. He's got Hoskins at second, 1 gone. His team up by 1 in the 7th. Reaches out, pulls this gently to short. Swanson throws him out, 2 away. Here's what we're talking about at this point. The big differences in this game. They had Franco dead to rights at home, but McCann couldn't get the tag on him.
Yeah, it was like almost Franco was going in slow motion, and McCann was thinking the plate was going to be bang bang, right? And he's really kind of the play most of the time. That's what you would make. You would think the runner's there, and you sweep the tag and catch his foot. Guys who slide in feet first, home plate is so difficult. And yet it begs you with the new rules to slide in head first. Swim moves brings in more injuries because it's a flat plate. And when you slide, usually your foot is trying to get a bag up, right? It's hard to get that toe down and touch that flat plate, which usually gives catchers the ability and the advantage of making more tags.
O'Day to Kingery, 0-1 pitch, 0-2. Is there any way to fix it? Is there any way to alter the plate? You know, you're full of ideas, huh?
Yeah, we could do it. It's a pop-up plate. Technology. Batter hits the ball. He's running. All of a sudden, here comes. Boop! Pops up as the runner comes in, turns into a base. Problem solved.
I love it. What happens?
The only problem would be the pitch comes in and the plate pops up accidentally.
Yeah, a little malfunction.
But that, you know, you just deal with it. That's what happens from time to time.
Yeah, it add a little wrinkle to everything.
The umpire would have the gadget to control with, so he would control it, you know. And really, it's only going to come into play on plays at the plate, so you'd have plenty of time to.
So you only pop it up if there's a play at the plate?
Yeah, it's only time.
Okay.
Only time. That thing stays down.
Can I have like sound effects too? Because this is sounding fun.
Yeah.
Kind of like a NASCAR pit crew. You know, I'm picturing all those sounds.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. Kingery down on strikes. A stranded man in scoring position, 6-5.
All right, how about the Braves mic check? Mic check? It's not working. Mic check. Mic check. I don't think this is working. Doesn't look, normally it looks different. Test. Is that? Around. All right, I got the backup mic on. Just a quick shout out between innings here. Probably not going to do play-by-play with this backup microphone. Maybe I need to reboot or something. But yeah, going to the 8th, Braves down by 1. Donaldson, Duvall, and Riley, who's got 3 strikeouts on the day, coming up to bat next. And shout out to everyone in the dugout. We got A-Bomb, Anthony, VG Virtual Gaming is in the house. T-Man is here, was here. He's got a lot of work to do in college.
Back in Philadelphia, top of the 8th inning. Phillies ahead of the Braves 6-5. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal as Josh Donaldson gets ready to lead this inning off. Jose Alvarez is brought on to get Freddie Freeman to get out of the 7th. And delivers strike 1 to Donaldson. There's been much consternation from Braves hitters with home plate umpire Roberto Ortiz's zone tonight.
Wow.
A lot of the calls they haven't liked have been on the inside part to righties, and now they're saying you can't give them both sides.
Well, it's an interesting choice here. Donaldson not as good against left-handed pitchers as he is against right-handed pitchers, so that's why Gabe Kapler has chosen to leave in Jose Alvarez.
Donaldson shoots a line drive to center field, base hit. Doesn't matter who he's facing lately. Donaldson opens the 8th with a single, and Atlanta has the tying run aboard.
Of course, I played with Jose Alvarez that played for the Atlanta Braves. Namesake. He was right-handed though.
Different guy then, or just converted handedness. Adam Duvall has got a home run tonight.
All right, we lost something there. Hey, static.
Three home runs on both sides in this game. Out in front of a changeup, 0-1.
The San Francisco mist has come back. Wind still blowing 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the. That's where you lose me. I don't know. East, west.
Currently?
Yeah, south.
0-2. Yeah, I can't say that I'm locked into directions here.
But it's blowing out to left field.
Yeah, that's the only direction that matters at this point. A couple change jumps to get ahead of Duvall. 0-2. Tying run at first. Go ahead run at the plate. 8th inning. And a fastball buzzed inside 1-2.
Alvarez does a nice job. He throws across his body, and that illusion and cut spin makes the ball look firmer than the miles per hour. So he's been able to effectively pitch that way and really confuse the right-handed hitter, and not too many barreled up. By the way, we talked about Donaldson's incredible defense he's displayed. How about that catch to end the game last night?
Awesome.
I don't think enough people realize how hard that was to make a running catch, almost get the glove just before he crashed into the railing and make it look like it was no big deal.
Another 1-2 pitch, and Duvall watches ball 2. Brian Snicker said that Josh Donaldson's defense may be his biggest surprise all season. Here's that play from last night to end the game.
And this game was still in question with the runner on, and he just runs over there and makes a great catch. Full speed, like it was nothing. Obviously here in Philly, I was with a lot of those Philly fans that weren't happy, rightfully so, on that catch. Trying to mount that rally in the 9th.
As we get to this point, 6-5 in the 8th, it's a game Philadelphia has to have.
Yes.
2.5 back of the second wild card. All the teams ahead of them tonight won. 3-2 to Adam Duvall is popped up. Franco in foul ground.
Well, that wind that ball was easily an out. And the wind howled and took it into the stands. You could say if this was a situation in the 9th, more than likely Billy Hamilton would be at first base right now replacing Josh Donaldson. But being that it's the 8th and you want Josh Donaldson's defense for the 8th and or the 9th. And Brian Snitker doesn't have to make that move right now.
8th pitch to Duvall. And he swings and it's a spinner foul. Let's go to Ken.
I asked Josh Donaldson about that catch last night, and I said, Josh, 1 to 10, 10 being the most difficult, how would you rate it? And he said it was actually an 8. Pretty difficult on the 1 to 10 scale. And obviously, as John said, it's getting to the rail, making the play, all the things going on at once ended the game.
That is a walk, and the first 2 have reached against Alvarez here in the 8th. Let's check in with Mike Hill for a game break. All right, Mike. Hector Neris starting to loosen for the Phillies. Nursing this 6-5 lead, but 2 on and nobody out for the Braves here in the 8th with Austin Riley standing in. Been a tough night for him. Really been a tough run since returning from the month on the IL with the knee injury. He's 1 for 12. Alvarez comes home, and Riley pops the first one up that he sees into short right field. And the wind plays tricks with it again, but the infield fly rule in effect made Cesar Hernandez's heartbeat quite as fast. 1 away.
Yeah, it's amazing. The ball early in the season to Riley probably looked like a beach ball, and now it looks more like a golf ball. And you go through those stretches, and usually it's with some mechanical funk you get in, and certainly the injury could be part of it too. But you start doing things, and some players chase results, and some players have to figure out mechanically what they're doing so that they can get back on track.
A chance here for McCann to atone for play he's very frustrated about. You saw him angry over missing the tag for a few minutes after the play. He's got an opportunity here with the tying run at second, the go-ahead run at first.
McCann obviously trying to keep the ball off the ground in the infield, because that would more than likely be a double play.
Tries to lay off, but can't, and it's 0-2.
Tied him up inside.
First and second, one gone. 0-2 pitch. So when Alvarez got Freddie Freeman to chase back in the 7th.
I mean, I would think this would be the last hitter for Jose Alvarez. Swanson on deck. Well, they sure would like to get a double play.
Bounce it to first. They'll get just one. Hoskins to the bat. That is second and third go the Braves. So the tying run 90 feet away. The go-ahead run in scoring position. Gabe Kapler telling his catcher Realmuto to go out there buy some time. Hector Neris, another couple warm-up pitches.
I just read his lips. He just said, listen, you're not going to be out here much longer, so I'm coming here to stall. Gabe's coming. Don't be surprised. But that's it. The umpire's coming. As soon as he comes, here comes Gabe. I think that's what he said.
You're good. You read it right through the glove, too, huh?
Yeah.
X-ray vision. Buying as much time as he can, and now he's going to make his way to home plate. And it's going to be a double switch. Pitcher spot due up third for the Phillies in the bottom of the 8th. Hector Neris coming in with a game on the line.
All right, I guess we're going to have a pitching change here with the Braves threatening second, third, and Swansea coming to bat. Phillies making some other changes as well, some outfield changes it looks like. We are in a break. There's a pitching change. Yeah, it was weird. It goes to silent when I run the network. All right, here we go.
On a special Thursday baseball night in America, the Braves and the Phillies. Final game of this 4-game series. Braves trying to take 3 of 4. Phillies trying to salvage a split. And at this point, these games probably more important for Philadelphia, with the Braves well out in front of the division, on their way to a second consecutive division title. Not much room for error for the Phillies, who are 2.5 back of the second wild card. Game on the line here in the 8th inning. They lead by a run, second and third for Atlanta, with 2 gone and Hector Neris coming on.
Yeah, well, they know the teams in front of them have already won, so it's a game summary, and Mr. Neris, who can be nasty with that split fingers, coming in looking like he's going to have to get a 4-out save, and this would be under the category of a tough save, because he's coming in with runners on second and third, although be it with 2 outs, but he's coming in with the winning runs potentially on the bases.
Donaldson at third and Duvall at second. The hitter is Dansby Swanson. A couple defensive changes for you as part of the double switch. Sean Rodriguez in the game in left. Hazley moves from left to center. And so Rodriguez will be up third for the Phillies in the bottom of the 8th. So here we go. Swanson, who's 0 for 3 today, facing Hector Neris. His first pitch. Here's chopped foul, and it's 0-1. Swanson has not been nearly as good since returning from about a month-long stay on the injured list with a heel injury. Hitting below 150 in the 2 weeks since. Donaldson at third, Duvall at second. Swanson with a check swing foul, and Neris quickly ahead 0-2.
And when he throws this split, it starts at the top of the zone and can actually break all the way to the bottom of the zone. Tremendous depth to it. lately he's had command of that pitch along with his fastball. Phillies are hoping he can throw one more good one, or at least throw a fastball top of the zone.
Dansby.
Change the eye level.
0-2.
0-2.
The rain is coming down in Philadelphia. Came down last night. They didn't stop the game.
One-run game, 8th inning. A 1-2 pitch. Went with a high fastball, and it's fouled back. We'll do it again.
Dansby chased that one.
Not that you ever want to throw a high split, but after a high fastball, if this split started up in the zone, he could actually buckle Swanson. Now, as opposed to a low fastball swinging foul ball, then you're going to come right back with that split at that height.
Did go with a splitter up.
Yeah. Now you got to work down off of that.
Well, Anthony, that's a very strategic
that one was a little
idea.
Flatter. Usually when they're up, though, that's the problem. You get a little flat action there. That
Anthony, that's a very strategic idea you have there.
You want this pitch to be about knee high when it comes out of his hands, and then the hitter can't lay off of it.
Tying run at third is Donaldson. Go ahead run at second, Duvall. 1-2 is low, and the count evens 2 balls, 2 strikes. Charlie Culberson on deck. The pitcher's spot due next. Harris looking for a 4-out save, trying to get the Phillies within 2 games of the second wild card with a little more than 2 weeks left. 2-2 pitch. A pop-up. The wind has played tricks with it all night. This one will get pushed into the seats, and we'll do it again. For Hector Neris, who they're going to ask to go 4 outs for the save, having to expend a lot of energy for the first of those 4 outs. This will be the 8th pitch to Swanson.
Big pitch.
Line drive left field. Rodriguez is there. And Neris gets out of the jam in the 8th.
Eddie Rabbit for you on cue. Wow, Adrian predicted the bumper music that MLB.TV would play. Nice call on the Eddie Rabbit. But you know, you got to figure the producer. I mean, that's probably a go-to song in the rain. That, you know, any producer is probably doing that. That stranger doesn't have any social media. You know who I mean. Oh, D.A.B. Brewer. Well, Kelly, if he comes around, well, I might just have to ban him at some point here. But you can block him. I think a lot of people have blocked him. You may have already blocked him. I hope he's not stalking you outside the chat box. You know, Anthony, that's a strategic idea. Not have the best record in baseball. You know, kind of stay away. I guess you want to stay away from the Dodgers the first round, maybe. You know, but I would say that we can't do it that way. We just have to play as hard as we can, and you know, you can't. It's not like the NBA where teams take dives so they can get a high draft pick next year. You know, and we're not going to like purposely lose a game. But you know, who we face, we got to beat whoever comes up. You know, I know, and if we have to play a tough team and lose in the first round, Braves have been a buzzsaw, so whomever we play, I mean, they're going down. It's no problem. I'm not afraid of the Dodgers. I'm not afraid of anybody. The Cardinals, no problem. Bring them on. I think right now we're just as good as anybody. I mean, we beat them all. I think we're the team to beat. Even if the Dodgers have the best record,
Tonight's telecast is
all right, we're coming back to St. Louis.
Making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance.
Bundle your fucking insurance.
Applebee's.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on the insurance company. They still have my license plate, and I can't drive the van without the son of a.
The Phillies holding on to this 6-5 lead. Hector Neris getting the first of what they hope are 4 outs.
I can honestly say, after reading that promo, I could do a burger right now.
That is ball 1 from Sorzak. Yeah, it sounds good, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, it's late to have a burger, but
you're not a.
I wouldn't have thought about it till you read that promos.
Well, that's what we're here for. Me and Applebee's get you to go there. Quickly, 2 balls, no strikes. This is a good food town. Quietly.
Yeah, you're right.
But here it would be, obviously the cheese steak.
Oh boy, did I crush cheesesteaks in the visiting locker room for all those years.
It's foul, and it's 2-1.
Not on the day that I pitched.
No.
On the 4 days that I didn't pitch.
What's this I'm seeing about? Is it Adam Jones? A dozen donuts before a day game?
Come on.
One on Hazley. Yeah, a dozen glazed donuts. It's a Sports Illustrated article. Stephanie Apstein. Before a day game. You telling me you never had a dozen glazed donuts before a game?
Yeah, but I wasn't playing. Great catch by one of our fans here in the mid deck.
Now the payoff pitch, and Hazley watches ball 4. He starts the 8th with a walk. Oh, he saw his diving play earlier tonight. Last night, here's that 10% catch probability catch we're talking about on StatCast, powered by AWS.
Okay, now, quick question. I'm not expecting you to know the answer to this.
Okay, good.
On the catch probability, shouldn't it matter if he's left-handed or right-handed in the probability of making that catch?
Yeah.
But I don't know that that would actually be taken into consideration. It's an average of all the left fielders based on what. Anyways, I just wondered.
No, I think it's a valid question. Because it's a significantly different play depending on your handedness. Good night for Maikel Franco. He's got a single and a double. Came in to score right now. What is the difference in this game? Play we've showed a couple of times. Him sliding in and a base hit from Cesar Hernandez. After a great throw from Austin Riley and right, looked like they had him.
Well, the Phillies have one of those rare Friday off days.
Really weird.
Where the Braves will get on a plane and go to Washington to have a 3-game series with the Nats. The Phillies will take on the Boston Red Sox in a 2-game series starting Saturday. Friday day off. I don't think I've ever had a Friday day.
Boy, how dysfunctional has it become in Boston?
Wow.
What happened?
I was there and I still don't know what happened. I still can't believe the news I heard when Dombrowski was no longer going to be doing his job as general manager for the defending world champions. And the 3-time in a row divisional winners.
Kenny, you were in Boston a little bit too. What in the world's going on?
Good question. Now, if the Red Sox decided that they needed to go in a new direction because they have a number of challenging decisions coming up, okay, but what does the next general manager have to do exactly? Ben Sherrington fired 2 years after winning the World Series. Dombrowski fired 10 months after winning the World Series. So what's the standard now? You have to win back-to-back? Kind of a tough deal there. And the other thing that is pretty apparent, if you're a Boston general manager and things don't go well, it's going to end badly. And as they look for a new president of baseball operations, that's a concern for many of the people who might be interested.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to jump at a job when there's very clearly that amount of volatility. And I mean, what a short leash.
I mean, it is championship town, or what do they call it? What do they call it?
Title town?
Title town,
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, I think they also wanted a Super Bowl from Dombrowski. He was sprinkling a Stanley Cup because the World Series.
Well, I did say that the fan base in Boston is in a little bit of a shock. They haven't won a championship in 5 months. And, you know, the Bruins didn't get it done. Of course, coming off of the Patriots, coming off of the Red Sox. They've had a, can you imagine being 19 or 21 years old growing up in, that's all you know.
Yeah. That's slapped to left center field by Rodriguez, up against the wall. Hazley sprinting hard around third. He'll come in without a throw on a ringing double from Sean Rodriguez that gives the Phillies some insurance.
Guy comes in the game, makes the last out of the top half of the inning, comes in and gets a big insurance double in the bottom half. On the bench most of the game, and then comes in and takes advantage of a breaking ball that center cut.
Rodriguez not the most popular Philly these days. He criticized Phillies fans for booing. And collectively, they didn't like that.
I mean, that's the first word they learn when they're able to talk. I mean, having played through here in all the years, this is a city that expects you to give what you've got, right? I mean, just give what you got. Performance is also very important, but it's been a while since the Phillies have been to the playoffs, and there's been high hope really about all three franchises right now. Sixers, Eagles, and the Phillies. And always the Flyers.
Now the Phillies haven't had a winning season since 2011. At the very least, it looks like that is going to end. 2-2 on Hernandez. Now they led the East as late as mid-August last year, but they lost 27 of 37, finished 80 and 82. in Gabe Kapler's first year. A 7-year playoff drought coming on the heels of the 5 consecutive division titles, which included the World Championship in '08. Swarzak's 2-2 is taken low and the count is full.
Tell you what, he is just missing on a lot of pitches that have either been close to the strike zone or close to the hitter swinging.
MLB.TV is now available at a lower price, $26.99. You can watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. MLB.TV for details. 7-5 Phillies in front, bottom of the 8th with 1 gone, and a 3-2 pitch to Cesar Hernandez is taken for strike 3. Didn't miss with that one. 2 away.
Did not.
Very bunched wild card race in the National League outside of the Washington Nationals. We got 5 teams vying for that second spot. Couldn't you see the Brewers kind of rallying around losing Christian Yelich? And
yeah, it works for a while, but then you come up to key situations where you know he would be up.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, you know, the opposing pitchers are like, ooh. And it does change your lineup. That is one player that the Brewers could not afford to lose. An unfortunate injury where he just smoked his knee on a foul ball. Their pitching starting to come around a little bit, which is part of the issues for the Brewers. And injuries to the rotation, bullpen, same thing. But they've caught a little energy and scheduling too.
Real Muto, Rodriguez is second, 2 gone. Swarzak delivers in the dirt. So who do you got? Who do you got winning that second wild card? Assuming that is Washington your first wild card team?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Washington should have a pretty good stronghold on that.
Okay.
I have been on about a month and a half ago, and they've been kind of teetering back and forth. But the New York Mets, I know that their schedule is not the same of others, but their pitching is something special and can be something special.
They got a pretty good rookie in the lineup too.
Amazing.
Pete Alonso.
You know, when we talk about it, and we talk about it briefly about the different meanings and the approaches of what an MVP is. You know, so many. If he wasn't on this team, if he was on this team, this and that, winning team. How about taking into consideration rookie? Now, granted, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. But there's some that should be taken into consideration when you're talking about a rookie putting up these kind of numbers in that market and for that team and keeping them afloat.
Two and 2 on Real Muto. Phillies 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the 6th, and 1 here in the 8th. On a 2-2 pitch, Real Muto hits it foul. We're talking about the upcoming schedule for the Phillies not being very forgiving. That is why the playoff odds for them at this point sit at just 4%. The schedule is by far the most difficult.
It is. The D-backs were sitting in a great spot if they could have gotten through New York.
Or at least held serve.
Yeah.
Got swept in a 4-gamer.
But there is going to be that scenario that plays out that somebody's going to benefit from another team not playing it straight, right? It's just the rub of the schedule where, as I mentioned before, I could easily see the last 3 games of the season, Braves resting their players.
7th pitch. Another 2-2. Is flied to right. Back goes Riley. At the wall. There it goes. JT Realmuto with an opposite field home run to crack it open here in the 8th. started the night talking about the Phillies and their need to hit to overcome the pitching issues, and they've hit 4 home runs tonight on their way to a 9-run output.
Yeah, don't expect them to put up 10 every single time, but this is a ball that was hit into the wind to right field. And now much more breathing room for the Phillies, who will have an off day tomorrow. And of course, the Braves are going on to play the Nationals, and I believe Scherzer tomorrow.
Ball 1 to Harper.
Another hanging breaking ball. See that dot? There is no dot. It's a big circle. When you see a big circle, the hitter's eyes light up. And like I said, this ball was hit into the wind.
Yeah, what a season JT Realmuto's having. 25th home run. There have been a lot of talks around here about them extending him. He's got 1 more year on his current deal. And one of the most valuable players in the National League.
A rare commodity at that position. When you think about guys like Gary Sanchez, and his ability to hit is nowhere close to the dual threat that JT Realmuto is, both from defensive catcher and an offensive catcher. But wow, taking that offense at that position, priceless.
2-2. You say priceless. I say, put $100 million. What are you going to take to keep him long-term deal? Full count on Harper. Yeah, the Phillies have been able to score these 9 runs despite Realmuto and Harper going to combine 1 for 9 so far. That home run being the first hit for those 2 guys. Hoskins has a hit and a walk. They got a home run from Segura. They've got a home run from Hazley. A home run from Cesar Hernandez. A walk for Harper.
I think Snick's seen enough. It's been a long half inning.
31 pitches thrown by Anthony Swarzak. 3 in the bank for the Phillies. They lead at 9-5. They all are at this point. They lead at 9-5 on Baseball Night in America, following the 2-run home run from JT Realmuto, one of the 4 they've hit against the Braves tonight. Not Anthony Swarzak's finest night. After the walk to Harper, he leaves, gets replaced by Chad Sabatka. Harper runs on the first pitch, and he'll have it without a throw as it pops out of the glove of McCann. So that's now 16 for 16 in stolen bases for Philadelphia in the last 16 games.
Taking advantage of it. When you least expect it, expect it.
Almost hit him, ball 1. These last couple innings for the Braves bullpen, this has looked a little more like before the deadline. It was one of the primary concerns for them before they went out and got Melanson and Green and Martin. Walks were a big issue. A couple in this inning. And now ball 3 on Hoskins. Nick Pivetta down in the bullpen. Hector Neris probably no longer needed. Got out of the jam in the 8th. That's a pop up and foul ground first base side. McCann with room to make the catch and finish the inning. But the Phillies get 3 and widen that lead to the 9th. Hector Neris delivers strike one to Charlie Culberson. Pinch hitting to open this ninth. So even with a 4-run lead, they leave Neris in. We got the final out of the 8th inning when it was still a 1-run game.
Yeah, the problem with that is that was a long half inning, so you just wonder how much sitting on the bench would get him out of rhythm a little bit.
And you know you're going to need him close to every day down the stretch. Do you not look at this as an opportunity to?
You could. 4-run game, though, still is you want your closer in there to finish it off. A day off tomorrow.
Popped up. Real Muto for the first out. Pretty casual.
I know, I'm amazed. I don't know if it's habit. I'm amazed that catchers don't let go of their mask when they're catching a pop-up. He's got the mask in his right hand. I see it a lot.
As long as they catch it. Ronald Acuna Jr. tonight, 2 steals and a home run. So now has 39 home runs on the season and 36 steals. There's his 0-1.
Well, it wasn't a huge crowd, but it looks like it's going to be a happy crowd.
Two and 2 officially announced 27,000. 22.
Probably not, but that's their season ticket. The weather kept some people away. They knew we were doing the game on TV, so kind of torn.
Season low last night. 23,243. 4,000 more tonight announced. Here's the 2-2. Got him swinging. 2 out in the 9th.
I mean, it's not often that Joe Davis gets to come in here and do a game.
So you're saying they went home and
on a national level?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
You were too kind to me, buddy. Ozzie Albies at 2 gone.
Next week will be in Chi-Town, Chicago.
Right in the heat of it.
Yeah. Much needed win for the Cubs today. They had to salvage that. It's never easy going out west. You know what? I don't understand. There's been a few teams that do the Milwaukee-San Diego trip. I don't understand that.
You mean it's not a natural one?
Isn't I don't see the flow of that one.
That's the Matt Vasgersian trip.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. Braves did that right out of the break, I think. Matter of fact, I think they did. Milwaukee, San Diego, Miami. Wow. If I'm not mistaken.
Down to their last strike here. There's his 1-2, and he got him swinging to finish things off. The Phillies stay right in the thick of things in the wild card picture, back to within 2 games of the 2nd spot.
Well, that's going to be a feel-good game for a day off tomorrow. And then the Red Sox come in this weekend, the defending champs. There's the updated standings.
Be a fun finish, isn't it?
I think so. Pretty much the teams I thought. we're going to be in contention.
We'll take a quick break here in Philly. Be back to wrap things up after the Phillies salvage the split right in the long ball tonight to a 9-5 win over the Braves.